become sick in the next week, we're blaming you, just so you know.
Good evening and welcome to the regular town council meeting, February 3rd, 2026. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Chairperson Phillips.
Present.
Councilor Sims.
Present.
Councilor Willis.
Present.
Councilor Cooch.
Present.
Councilor Seagull.
Present.
Councilor Dearborn.
Present.
Councilor Hamblin.
Present.
All right, we'll move on to the acceptance of the minutes of the January 6th, 2026 regular town council meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second by Councilor Sims. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? 7 yeas. Now we'll move on to open public communications. This is a time for people from the public to come up to the podium and speak about items that are not on the agenda tonight. We'll do about 3 minutes. And if you could just give us your name and where you're from.
Good evening. I'm Barbara DeVoe from Shamrock Drive here in Gorham. I have a statement I'd like to read to you tonight so that it's organized and succinct for you. My husband and I chose Gorham 18 years ago because its reputation for good schools, excellent public safety, quiet neighborhoods, scenic and charming downtown, and access to premier health care locally as well as in Portland. We love this community and support growth and development. However, over the last 6 years, we've had several concerns around this topic. One, lack of transparency. Little communication about some major projects in early stages, leaving the community, including ourselves, in the dark and making monumental decisions without an opportunity to provide feedback. The land trust purchase for industrial development referendum vote a number of years ago is an example of this. Now, the current sale of land to Amazon will occupy a large parcel in the middle of a highly populated residential area. Residents directly affected by this sale were given very little notice of the impending project and vote to sign the purchase and sale agreement without the opportunity to provide public comment. Now, we have a proposed plan with little opportunity to obtain answers to critical questions and concerns that we have. One, traffic impact. I know that we're going to be having a DOT evaluation, but driving in this part of Main Street at any time of day is hazardous, especially when taking left turns into Gateway Commons and Shamrock Drive. Now, add significantly more traffic to this area where school buses, business traffic and commuters travel varied times of the day. Lack of tax relief. We already heard at the January meeting that the initial studies show that this project will not provide the tax relief that many citizens in this community are looking for. Amazon is going to be a 24-hour operation. Was the town council aware of this when this decision was made, considering the impact on the quality of life in this residential area? Ordinances. What current or future ordinances need to be in place to protect this community and abutting neighborhoods from intrusive and life-changing industrial giants like Amazon? Loss of property value. We have already had, over this past 6 years, but 2 recently, that we've had 3 realtors tell us that they have verified that the value of these homes will be impacted negatively. Gorham citizens need answers and actions to these questions and concerns. We are asking the town council to pause and reevaluate their decision to consider the potential benefits of rezoning this land to mixed-use residential and small-scale commercial properties that can coexist and provide much-needed support for the community. Many of you may not have been on the town council when the original land trust was sold. But you are on the town council now, and we are asking for your reconsideration of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kristen Lehman, and I reside at 27 Shamrock Drive. I'm here this evening to respectfully ask the council to reconsider the sale of a parcel of land in the industrial park to Amazon. I want to be very clear, I am not anti-business, nor am I opposed to Amazon as a company. However, as a homeowner whose property directly abuts this proposed development, I have serious concerns about the impact that this would project would have on my neighborhood and on our town as a whole. I firmly believe that when we know better, we do better. I also recognize that not all of the current council members were involved in the original vote to sell this land. It is my hope that at the time of that vote, the full scope of this project was not yet understood, specifically that this would be a 24/7 operation, how close it would be to the homes on Shamrock Drive, and the magnitude of its long-term impact. Now that this information is coming to light, I believe you have both the opportunity and the responsibility to reconsider this decision and make it right by canceling the sale. We have learned that the projected reduction in individual property taxes resulting from Amazon's addition is approximately $60 per year, roughly the cost of 2 bags of groceries at Hannaford. I would argue that this is not a meaningful benefit to residents. By contrast, several independent realtors estimate that home values on Shamrock Drive could decrease by as much as $50,000. Even if assessed values do not drop accordingly for tax purposes, homeowners would still absorb a substantial financial loss. Beyond the financial implications, the light and noise pollution from a 24/7 operation directly behind our homes would significantly diminish our quality of life. Council members have been invited to our homes to see firsthand just how close the facility would be, and I strongly encourage you to accept this invitation so you can fully understand the reality we are facing. The impact of this development extends beyond our neighborhood, though. Increased traffic from Amazon's delivery fleet would affect not only Gorham, but also surrounding communities such as Westbrook, Wyndham, Standish, Hollis, Scarborough, many of whose residents commute through Gorham daily. Traffic is already a challenge. This project would take it to an entirely new level. Safety is an even greater concern. Studies show Amazon delivery-related crashes and injuries increased by 38 to 40% in 2020. A rise linked to the intense delivery quotas drivers are recommended to meet. Shamrock Drive and Gateway Commons neighborhood homes are home to many families whose children wait for school buses along this busy roadway that Amazon trucks would use for entry and exit. This is not the type of neighbor any residential community would be expected to accept. Emergency vehicles throughout the town would also be negatively affected. I believe I can speak for my neighbors on Shamrock Drive and as a taxpayer in this town when I say that this project offers little benefit and significant harm to our charming bedroom community. I respectfully ask that you reconsider the sale of this land and explore rezoning the property for industrial and/or commercial use that would support smaller businesses that more align with our town's character and genuinely add value to Gorham as an exceptional place to live. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
My name is Ann Bilodeau, and I also live on Shamrock Drive and came to talk about the Amazon proposal. My two neighbors have already eloquently expressed a lot of what I was planning to say, but I want to note that Consumer Reports published an article a couple of years ago where they did a study on these specific types of Amazon facilities in conjunction with the University of Maryland, and they concluded, and this is a quote, "Communities that host delivery facilities end up being the losers. They get more traffic, air pollution, traffic jams, and pedestrian safety problems, but they don't receive their fair share of the benefits that accrue from having the operation nearby." And I know also by doing some research on your town website that one of your council goals in 2025 was to fill the industrial park and to, quote, "focus on filling the park in a sensible way." I'm failing to see how it makes sense to add a business that will hugely increase traffic volume to our roads that already can't handle the current volume, that will increase air pollution, noise pollution, and light pollution. And I'd like to know what happened to the plan that the Industrial Park Steering Committee developed in 2020 and 2021. I know most of you weren't on the council at that point, maybe didn't even know there was a steering committee. But the committee never put forward a use like this. They promoted a business park, mixed-use development. Why was that plan developed? Some of your other council goals also encourage commercial growth to stabilize taxes over the long run. And I understand that. I'm the Deputy Finance Director for the City of Portland. I produce the real estate bills. I get that. but commercial development doesn't happen overnight, and at the pace the new residential developments are coming into Gorham, the hundreds of housing units that are already in the pipeline, it will take even longer for any commercial development, like decades, to have an effect on residential property taxes. Other council goals are to enhance the quality of life for residents, to enhance Gorham's rural character, and to enhance the overall character of the town. This type of operation is in direct opposition to all of those goals, in my opinion. The increased traffic on Main Street will negatively impact everybody in Gorham. The town manager recently at an economic development committee meeting was asked about the potential Amazon impact on the village traffic and pedestrian safety, and he expressed confidence that Amazon's traffic program will not significantly impact the village's current traffic issues. At best, I find that really extremely optimistic. They're predicting hundreds of traffic vehicles in and out of that facility daily, and I fail to see how that won't impact village safety. So I'd just like to conclude by asking yourselves, is that really what you want to do to the town of Gorham? Do you really want to create more traffic, create more pollution? Do you want to negatively impact the quality of life of the residents in the neighboring properties? And if you knew about this, or if you, would you still vote on this sale now if your property abutted this, knowing now what type of operation is coming there? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Michelle Littlefield, 15 Burton Drive. I'm a member of the school committee, but I'm not here in that capacity tonight. I'm here as the owner of Third Space Market down in the village. And I also want to make a brief statement in opposition to the Amazon land sale. My opposition is rooted in a simple belief, and that's that the land would better serve Gorham taxpayers if it were zoned for mixed use and developed strategically through ordinance as a true extension of our village. My family opened our business in Gorham on April 22nd, 2025, so just last year, and in 8 months, we've welcomed over 3,300 customers. While we're still growing, our revenue per square foot, which is how you measure success of a retail gift shop, was more than double what we had anticipated at the start. We achieved that while working 3 jobs and doing no heavy paid marketing. So every day, people tell us how grateful they are to have more local retail options here. Gorham is absolutely a great place to do business when businesses are given the right conditions to succeed. Through my role on the school committee, I deeply understand how frustrating it can be to have long planning processes and then late public opposition. But I was struck by the town's own statement in the Economic Strategic Plan from just June 2025, which states that Gorham must consider how to use this land and whether or not industrial expansion is actually appropriate. That was on page 38. I'm really kicking myself that I didn't attend the meetings where the conversations happened between June and the August sale offer, because I don't understand how we arrived at the conclusion that industrial use was the best option for this parcel. In 2023, Gorham's tax base shifted dramatically during the reevaluation. Commercial property, which was historically made up about 30% of total value here, dropped to just over 12%, the lowest I can find in published history. You all saw my data analysis on that. That tells me we have to be more intentional about how we use remaining developable land, particularly that we must maximize value per acre. This parcel is uniquely valuable. It's near the metro. It's adjacent to our walkable village. It buffers other neighborhoods. It borders a nature preserve. These are all precisely the conditions that support higher value mixed use development. What my business needs and our tax base needs to survive is more businesses like mine. I'm not inherently opposed to Amazon as the purchaser, but where can more new small businesses like mine go? Where can I expand when I outgrow my 1,000 square feet? Why wouldn't we optimize these particular parcels to maximize long-term value and relieve the residential tax burden more effectively? I urge you to pause and reconsider whether this land is truly being put to its highest and best use. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily Johnson, and I live on Flaggy Meadow Road. I urge the council to reconsider approving the Amazon warehouse on Route 25. Traffic there is already a serious problem. Many of us wait 20 to 25 minutes just to get through a single light after work. Adding warehouse truck traffic will make that exponentially worse. While jobs are promised, Amazon has recently cut about 16,000 jobs and continues investing heavily in automation, replacing humans with robots and limiting long-term opportunities for local residents. My father and I are both small business owners, and projects like this encourage online shopping over supporting local businesses. We'll be left with more traffic, fewer local dollars, and little lasting benefit while profits leave town. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Josh Trombley. I live at 30 Little River Drive here in Gorham. I think here and at the last several town council meetings, we've covered a lot of the factual reasons why people oppose the Amazon land deal. So I want to do something I don't usually do and appeal to your hearts. At a previous meeting, the question was raised, we're appealing to this idea of maintaining our small town character. And I think a fair question was raised, which is like, what does that even mean? It means different things to different people. I think to me and to many of us in town, it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't get any new neighbors. We don't get any new housing. I think it's really about how we treat the neighbors that we do have. That's something that is very special about Maine and is very special about Gorham. To me, I can say to me personally, it means like if you break down on the side of the road, within minutes, a couple of guys in a pickup truck will stop and help you. It means when I got my own car stuck, this is embarrassing, when I got my car stuck in my own driveway after this last storm, my neighbors helped me out. And so what I want to leave you with, and I hope that you leave tonight thinking about, is these people here, this project is going to ruin some people's lives, and those people are your neighbors. And I want you to think about whether this is the way that you, not as town councilors, but as residents of this community, want to treat your neighbors. I understand why you made this decision, some of you, in the first place, but after everything we've learned about the project and hearing from these people, I'm convinced that it's a bad idea for the town, and it's not the way that I want to treat my neighbors, and it's not what I want to see for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Emerson. I live on Sebago Lake Road, far away from Gorham, of Amazon. But I am really, really concerned. I'm just going to read this. As Gorham faces one of the largest and most powerful companies in the world, we should research intensely and reflect deeply on our town and the surrounding communities. We need to ask, are we willing to sacrifice this community in the interest of economic development? We need to consider carefully the impact that Amazon has had on the hundreds of locations before us on the quality of life. Is there a price tag that can be put on that? There needs to be extensive research and community evaluation for us to gain more clarity on what's at stake. What will its impact be on air quality, traffic aspects, noise, and light quality? Is there a way to monitor these? Hundreds of studies by the Health Effects Institute validate what common sense would tell us, that proximity to heavy traffic worsens asthma, especially in children, impairs lung function and other respiratory symptoms, and worse. Can residents' exposure to particulate matter be controlled or measured? The Amazon Employees for Climate Justice and the People's Collective for Environmental Justice joined to pitch a resolution to the shareholders of Amazon requiring Amazon to come up with a plan to reduce use of fossil fuels and reduce pollution that it's bringing to vulnerable communities. The resolution failed. Amazon's warehousing practices show the same disregard, their excessive energy use resulting in higher carbon emissions, while wasteful packaging and improper waste disposal and limited recycling efforts lead to increased environmental harm. Its 3 proposed exits onto Main Street will create excessive bottlenecks, slowing and endangering motorists, slowing traffic and causing more accidents, taxing our police and rescue infrastructure. Additionally, the hundreds of trucks will add the need for increased tax revenue for road repairment. Most motorists will be negatively impacted by Amazon's delivery van drivers pressed to make many deliveries as quickly as possible, causing collisions and, according to ProPublica, even deaths. How many diesel truck trips will be made each day? How many other vehicle trips per day? Amazon's increased high-pressure culture, demanding workloads, aggressive performance metrics, repetitive stress injuries, difficult shift work, high injury rates, doesn't make it the desirable employer that can improve a community. It's common knowledge that demands on meeting quotas while involved in general poor worker treatment results in very high worker turnover. These are jobs that exploit our community.
Mrs. Emerson, could you finish up your comments?
Yes, I'm finished. Thank you. Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
My name is Wes Talley, and I live at 264 Dingley Spring. And I would just like to start by saying thank y'all for all the hard work that y'all do for the town and the community. And with that said, I also oppose the Amazon deal, and especially stand with the people of Shamrock. I feel like just weighing the totality of evidence on both sides, it seems that the negatives far outweigh any of the positives that could come from this deal. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Catherine Atwood, lifelong family, Gorham resident. I get so nervous speaking, actually really dislike speaking in front of groups, so it will speak to how much I care about this issue that I'm coming up here again to feel embarrassed in front of everybody. But I just want to join in agreeing with what everybody has said and sharing appreciation for the council and what a difficult issue. And we know how much you guys care and really want to do the right thing for Gorham and how stressful it is. My dad was on the school committee for many, many years and have many memories of a voicemail box full of people passionately caring about their issue, but not really having the context in the greater sense. So we both appreciate that. And just want to say I have family who's older who now works in Westbrook, and as I go between family residence in Gorham and working in Portland myself, and hearing about the volume of traffic and the danger that's posed by the delivery drivers coming in and out of there is pretty horrifying to think of. I've heard both hundreds of cars or thousands of cars or car equivalents, and I'm sure technical studies are being done. And personally, I feel like we would pay extra taxes to have cars reduced and to prevent having hundreds of cars come through town. Also, I attended the Amazon proposal meeting, feeling interested in listening to some sort of bridge being built or answers being given, and it was deflection after deflection from the Amazon people who really didn't seem to take the time to take seriously the concerns and listen to the people of the town. And if that's an initial reflection of their attempt to be a community member, it was really poorly done, I have to say. I was not impressed. I left feeling very concerned by them saying they would have to talk to their team elsewhere and kind of cutting people short, is the impression I got. So just realize there may be limits in what you can do, and whatever you can do would be so incredible to hear and really something that the town could come together. I don't live on Shamrock Drive. It's not going to be lights in my backyard. And I care deeply about Gorham. And I really would like to see Gorham both maintain that spirit and be developed in a thoughtful, incredible way. It's already happening and we know you can do it. So thank you guys for listening and all you do, and any opportunities, we really welcome them. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? All right. We're going to move on to Councilor Communications. And I'm going to start on my left today with Councilor Cush.
All set, thank you.
All right. Councilor Hamblin, do you have anything to report?
I thought this was later in the meeting, so no, I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nothing to report this evening.
Okay, everybody wants go quickly here. And Councillor Siegel, go ahead.
Sorry to break the streak, everybody. I first want to acknowledge a lot of the great work I've been seeing in the community out of the past couple weeks. It's been a hard time for a lot of people, and as a counselor, I want to make sure that I'm keeping separate the dais from my own opinions. So I don't want to get too much into it, but all just to say that I'm very appreciative for all of the people that are doing great work, whether it's noticed or behind the scenes. And I think as a community, we just got to keep doing that hard work through everything that might happen. Secondly, I want to acknowledge that very recently, Geraldine Day, most commonly known as Jerry Day, passed away very unfortunately. She was just a complete lodestar of this town. Like, she did so much, and I'm just gonna, in addition to being a guidance counselor at various schools, including Deering High for decades in Gorham, she was a trustee at the Baxter Memorial Library and the Baxter Museum. She was president of the Gorham Medical Closet. She was at various times president, vice president, and secretary for the Lakes Region Senior Center. She was on the board of the Cressy Road Christian Church. She was a registrar for Gorham Voting, a member of the Female Samaritans, a member of the Triad, and a corporator for Gorham Savings Bank. And she was also a proud recipient of the Russell Award over USM. Just incredible human being. So we should all just hope that we can be a fraction of what she was. And now I'm really, really, really changing gears here, people. The High School Musical is stellar. It really, really is. Saw it on Thursday last week, and it was great. Highly suggest everyone get out there. I think the school committee report is going to have the specific times on it, but yeah, it was a great, great performance. I will note PG-13, just be aware, but awesome performance. And that's all for me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Dearborn?
Nothing to report.
Councillor Sims?
Nothing for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I did want to congratulate, because I see somebody in the audience, the Affordable Housing Committee met, and they had a very great meeting. So I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do. They're going to double up their meetings and get rolling. So I appreciate that. So also the Cemetery Committee met with Councillor Dearborn at the Historical Society. So they're on a roll. And I went to the Big Moose Harley grand opening. Great event, lots of people there from all over, not just from Gorham. So they're going to be busy this spring. So that was a great event too. And I'll go on to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. I'm just going to keep saying it every meeting, but the town will be transitioning to an online permitting software for major permits, building permits, things like that in the near future. I think it's sometime in March. So look forward to that. We're available to help with that transition. As you're aware, the municipal budget process is underway. Department heads, I've got two here this evening. They're working diligently on that to hand their budgets to me, and then we're going to have further in-depth conversations with that budget going to the council in early April. I also want to take a second to thank Gorham Public Works for their hard work. The public may not be aware of it, but there's been 29 storm events this winter that they've been called out for, far more than past years. And it's not just the big storms that really take a toll. It's a lot of these half-inch rain events, things like that. So thank you to the crews for working hard. Also would like to thank the municipal staff that are involved in upkeeping the ice rinks in town, and especially the neighborhood up in Little Falls. I hear that one is being very well taken care of by the residents up in the area, so thank you for your work on that. We're currently recruiting for a number of open municipal positions. More information can be found on our municipal website. And because we have a council alumni in the audience, I just want to remind the public to donate blood. Thank you.
All right. move on to the school committee report.
Hi there, Nicole Fisher, School Committee Chair. Sorry, I have a little bit of a lengthy update here, so bear with me. On January 30th, approximately 130 Gorham High School students and 25 Gorham Middle School students participated in a student-led walkout. The action was not organized, sponsored, or endorsed by Gorham School Department. Staff involvement was limited to ensure student safety, supervision, and consistent application of our student code of conduct. Participating students were marked unexcused for class periods missed, while instruction continued uninterrupted for students who remained in class. The district remained neutral on the issue. Staff neither encouraged nor discouraged participation and did not take positions or participate. As with past student-led actions, the district will continue to respect students' rights to peaceful expression while maintaining safety, neutrality, and an orderly learning environment, and will prioritize proactive communication in partnership with our families. On January 13th, district leaders participated in a joint emergency response tabletop exercise with Gorham Police, Fire, and EMS at the Public Safety Building. The exercise focused on coordination and communication to ensure student, staff, and community safety. The district values its strong partnerships that we have with these local public safety agencies. The FY27 budget process is underway. The superintendent's initial proposed budget will be presented to the school committee on February 11th, with revisions continuing through March before submission to the town council in April. Preliminary state subsidy estimates indicate that approximately $1.4 million increase for FY27, largely driven by increased costs. Property value growth and the town's use of TIFs helped maintain Gorham's state share, currently projected at a 62.02% of EPS, contingent on final legislation approval of the governor's proposed education funding increases. The school committee is finalizing its required cell phone policy, informed by surveys of staff, students, and parents. The policy will largely reflect current practice. No cell phones are used pre-K to 5, limited use before and after school at grades 6 through 8, with phones stored during the day, and classroom phone hotels used at the high school. A second reading of the policy is anticipated in March. The district is also monitoring proposed statewide legislation regarding a potential bell-to-bell cell phone ban. The governor's supplemental budget includes potential mandates requiring safety arms and no-pinch doors on all school buses. If approved, these requirements would have operational and financial implications for districts. This week, our school is recognizing School Counselor Week, an opportunity to acknowledge and thank our school counselors for their essential work supporting students across pre-K to 12. Our counselors play a critical role in our students' academic planning, social emotional well-being, mental health, and post-secondary readiness. Their daily work helps to ensure that students feel supported, connected, and prepared to succeed, and the district is grateful for their continued dedication in our community. Kudos to our GHS theater students for once again putting on an incredible musical over the past weekends. Their production of Something Rotten is excellent. Great turnout for all of the shows. As always, our students represented our community well and show off their talent in the process. The remaining shows are on February 6th and 7th at 7 p.m. and February 8th at 2 p.m. And finally, the Gorham High School Unified Basketball Team continues to exemplify inclusivity, teamwork, and school spirit. Unified games bring together students of all abilities in meaningful athletic competition and foster a positive, supportive atmosphere that reflects the values of our school community. Remaining home games are scheduled for March 3rd, 5th, and 10th at 3:30 at the Gorham High School gym, and community members are encouraged to attend and support our students.
Thank you. Any questions for school committee chair? All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Item 2026-2-1, action to adopt a statement on Gorham Community Values, council sponsored. Proposed Order 26-7, order that the Town Council adopts the following statement as follows. The Town of Gorham remains a welcoming community that values the diversity of its residents and firmly supports the principles of illegal immigration and the rule of law. While we respect the necessity of legal enforcement, we remain steadfast in our commitment to the public's rights to peacefully assemble, protest, and exercise all other liberties guaranteed under the U.S. Constitution. We hold our local law enforcement professionals with the highest regard for the dedicated service, protection, and deep-rooted membership in our community. We encourage all residents to support one another as we collectively traverse these difficult and uncertain times. The Town of Gorham does not condone any enforcement action that violates the rights of any American citizen, and we strongly encourage federal law enforcement agencies to abide by the high professional and ethical standards set by local law enforcement professionals of the state of Maine. Above all, the Town of Gorham affirms that every resident is valued, and we remain committed to ensuring our community continues to be a safe and inclusive place for all of our residents to reside.
All right, is there a motion on the item?
Moved.
Is there a second? Second by Councillor Sims. I guess I'll speak to this, that this is something that I thought was very important. I think Vice Chair Siegel and I talked about this. It's obviously brought forward by the entire council, and unless anybody has any comments or anything to make, we can go ahead and vote. So any comments? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Public hearing number 1 on item 2026-2-2. Public hearing to hear comments on a proposal to issue Town of Gorham massage licenses for 2026, administrative sponsored.
Public hearing number 1 is now open. If anyone would like to speak on this item, please come to the podium. Seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Proposed Order 26-8, order that the Town Council renew applications for massage licenses for 2026 as follows. Louis Song, Ocean Spa, 358 Main Street. Jennifer Parent, Terrial Chiropractor and Associates, 381 Main Street. Juliet Adrians, Kinetic Massage and Performance, 347 Main Street. Rhonda Logic, Body Logic, 510 Main Street. Elizabeth Burks, Liz Burke, Massage Therapist, 12 M Street. And Natalie Bagley, Skin and Body of Gorham, 88 State Street.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right. Is there a second? Second by Councillor Willis. This is our annual renewal of these applications that requires a public hearing. Anybody have any questions? We received all the information for the applications in our packet. All right. All those in favor? 7 yeas.
Public hearing number 2 on item 2026-2-3. Public hearing to hear comments on a proposal to amend the Land Use and Development Code to establish all abutter notifications requirements for projects before the Planning Board to 500 feet from parcel boundaries except when required otherwise by the state law. Administrative sponsored.
All right. Public hearing number 2 is now open. If anyone would like to speak on this item, please come to the podium. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing.
Proposed Order 26-9, order that the Town Council amend the Land Use and Development Code to establish all abutter notification requirements for projects before the Planning Board to 500 feet from parcel boundaries except when required otherwise by state law as follows.
Motion to waive the reading due to length.
All right. Is there a second? Second by Councillor Sims. All right. All those in favor of waiving the reading? 7 yeas. All right. Is there a motion on the actual item?
So can I ask a question on that, or do we need a motion first?
We need a motion before we
So-
discuss
so
the item.
moved?
Yep. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Councillor Siegel. All right. So do you have a question first, or the town manager was going to give an explanation first? Okay.
Please.
Thank you. Essentially, what this amendment does is prior notification was abutting parcels in most instances. Now it makes 500 feet, a collection of parcels within 500 feet of the property line of the parcel in question. So in all cases, it's not going to reduce notification. It would increase notification. It could be the same, but it would definitely, in a lot of cases, increase abutter notification.
Do you have a question?
I like the idea. 500 feet makes a lot of sense to me, but I think it's a 7-day notice that's required. And 7 days is not enough. I don't get mail two days a week as it is. You get a long weekend, a holiday, and you don't see this stuff. I see this. I own some land, and I get notices a week after the 7-day thing is up. So I would like to see that expanded to 21 days. If we're going to notify people, we might as well give them a chance to look at it.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the council, I think, has specific questions, I'd invite Tom Poirier up, but I will say that any modifications, it may be following state law in some instances, but even if it isn't, it's going to change the process substantially for submissions, I believe, to the planning board, but Tom may be able to speak to that further if you'd like him to.
He wants to come up. And just my understanding is that's not something we could change tonight because this came back from the planning board. We'd have to send a separate item to the planning board. Is that correct?
I'd have Tom speak to it, but it would be a substantial change compared to what you advertise for a public hearing, and I would err on the side of caution that you'd have another hearing for that and go through the process, but I'll leave it to Tom.
Yeah. Good evening, Tom Poirier, Director of Community Development, and you kind of identified what I said. So I think if the council likes the 500-foot distance, to standardize it with all development review, whether it's a gravel pit, subdivision, private ways, we standardize it to 500 feet and then send to the ordinance committee looking at what's an appropriate amount of time. Because that is a substantial notice. This whole thing would have to go back to the planning board for public hearing, but we can move forward with the 500 feet today and then send the rest of this stuff to the town council ordinance committee to review it and see what's an appropriate amount of time. Because without the submission deadlines, I can't speak to whether 27 we could do or what's the appropriate number, but I think we can work through it with the council.
Okay.
Just a clarifying question. So what's before us tonight, we're changing the distance. The number of days is the current standard.
Correct.
So as you're saying, if we were to approve tonight, we would be increasing the number of people that are getting under the current rule. But to Councilor Hamlin's point, we could also bring forward another motion to consider giving more notice, more advance notice as a separate motion.
As a separate motion,
Yep. Thank you. I would be supportive of that as well.
Any other questions, comments? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Public hearing number 3 on item 2026-2-4. Public hearing to hear comments on a proposal to amend the Land Use and Development Code to allow for fewer paper copies of applications materials and allow for digital submissions. Administrative sponsor.
All right, public hearing number 3 is now open. If anyone would like to speak on this item, please come to the podium. All right, seeing no one, public hearing is closed.
Proposed order 26-10, order that the town council amend the Land Use and Development Code to allow for fewer paper copies of application materials and allow for digital submissions as follows.
Motion to waive the reading due to length.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hamblin. All right, all those in favor, waiving the reading? 7 yeas. All right, and is there a motion on the actual item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Councilor Kush. Let me flip the pages. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This went to the planning board a little while ago from the council, and prior to this, there was a set number of copies and submission requirements that were relic of a different time. Those numbers were changed going to the planning board, and I think the planning board and staff had a even better idea. Coming back to the council, it's a modification of that. It basically just allows the community development department to adopt a policy that's available for submission requirements as far as the actual documentation. And if technology changes, submission requirements change, the policy could change as well, rather than coming back for an ordinance amendment every time. We're changing the number of copies that go to the planning board. And as the council is very much aware, a lot of this is becoming digital, although we do have some paper use at the planning board. I know a former councilor that loves it, but I'll pick on him a little. But this would allow this department to essentially post a policy for that submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All right. All those in favor? 7 yeas.
Public hearing number 4 on item 2026-2-5. Public hearing to hear comments on a proposal to amend the Land Use and Development Code to change the number of rooms that constitute an inn. Administrative sponsor.
All right, public hearing number 4 is now open. If anyone would like to speak on this item, please come to the podium. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing.
Proposed Order 2611, order that the Town Council amend the Land Use and Development Code to change the number of rooms that constitute an inn as follows. Chapter 300, Part 1, Zoning Regulations, terms defined. Proposed amendments are shown in black and underlined. In single-family or multi-family dwelling or other building converted in its entirety to an establishment for the purpose of accommodating paying guests for a limited duration with sleeping and dining facilities, payable on a per diem basis, having between 2 sleeping rooms and 25 sleeping rooms, and which may also include public dining for up to 7 days a week. The inn shall include a single-family dwelling unit to be occupied by the owner or manager, and additional buildings on the lot that meet space, setback, and parking requirements may be used for additional bed and breakfast activities. This use is considered a commercial use.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councillor Sims. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councillor Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this amendment originally started with working to help an existing business, but it's kind of morphed, and essentially what it's doing is it's increasing the range of number of units, the range, not the actual maximum amount of sleeping rooms for an inn versus a bed and breakfast. An inn allows a manager to be on site overnight, and I believe the bed and breakfast requirement is for the owner of the property to be on site. So it allows for a little bit more flexibility with the current land use code. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? All right. All those in favor? 7 yeas.
Public hearing number 5 on item 2026-2-6, public hearing to hear comments on a proposal to amend the Land Use and Development Code, Chapter 116, Building Construction, Article 1, Fire Suppression Systems. Administrative sponsor.
All right. Public hearing number 5 is now open. If anyone would like to speak, please come to the podium.
Thank you very much. Michael Finney, Apple Lane in Gorham. I support the proposed order tonight. I think it's a good start. I hope you continue to look at the sprinkler ordinance as it is written currently, look for ways to minimize it whenever the use isn't needed, I guess, or isn't recommended. It's a huge burden financially with, I would say, for the most part, limited benefits to the town. And I think it really causes the cost of people's dwellings to go up a lot. So I really hope you look at it, continue to look at it, and look at ways you can minimize those impacts so we can get the costs down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Public hearing is now closed.
Proposed Order 26-12, order that the Town Council amend the Land Use and Development Code, Chapter 116, Building Construction, Article 1, Fire Suppression System as follows. Proposed amendments are shown in black and underlined. Article 7, Sprinkler Suppression System for 1 and 2 family homes, Section 1. Commencing with the effective date of these amendments, all new dwelling units, including those that are single-family or duplex houses, including those that are 1 or 2 family dwellings, and all newly constructed or newly repurposed dwelling units are required to be sprinkled. The automatic sprinkler suppression system shall comply with the following. All new residential dwelling units, including all new 1 and 2 family dwellings, including all newly constructed and newly repurposed dwelling units, shall be equipped with an NFPA 13D or 13R automatic sprinkler suppression system. All areas of the building will have sprinkler coverage with the following exceptions. A single 2 1/2 inch fire department connection is to be placed on the outside of the building, exception combination systems and 1 and 2 family dwellings connected to Portland Water District's public water main. And B, exemptions. Tiny homes are defined under 21 AM RSA 10180C shall be exempt from the requirements of suppression system ordinance, and 1 and 2 family dwellings on a family gift lot, provided that no person may obtain more than 1 sprinkler permit exemption during this time this ordinance is in effect.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Councillor Sims. So this is coming from the ordinance committee, correct? Okay. I don't know who wants to speak to it, but
I'm happy to, but.
I'll try some, and then if I
Sure.
get anything. All right. The ordinance committee has continued to meet about this. The members of the ordinance committee have even changed in the length of time we've been discussing this. So we've been really, really giving this a lot of thought. To the other counselors, this is mentioned in the note, but I want to say it out loud. We are not done looking at it, but we figured it would be good to move portions of it along so that people who are actively watching this ordinance, who might be actively doing exactly this or wanting to do exactly this, can build their home on their family lot.
Thank you. I just adding to that, essentially what this does is adds a one-time exemption as for a gift lot, like a family member gives a lot to, a child to build a house or something like that. It would be the same process that we currently have under our growth ordinance. And the other item in here is the water district has started to require serviceable backflow preventers on 1 and 2 family homes that are connected to their water main, and that's frankly ridiculous. I'll say that publicly, but we're exempting that requirement, and the ordinance committee forwarded that as well. And following up on that, I know the ordinance committee is looking at other components in conjunction with maybe looking at impact fees, things like that, but it's stuff that we're bringing back for the next meeting, I believe. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
So I have a question about family gift lots. I don't know if you can answer or if maybe Tom can answer. So this says that, so if someone had, just say they had like 80 acres and they gave 3 acres to someone, they could only, to one of their kids, they couldn't give another 3 acres to their other kid and a grandkid, and they can just do 1. So the other houses would have to be sprinkled.
No, my interpretation of that, and Tom can correct me if I'm wrong, is the recipient of that gift is entitled to 1 exemption.
Okay. That's,
So
I
if you
just wanna
had
make sure.
5
Yep.
kids and enough land and were piecemeal breaking off those lots or subdivision or whatever the case is, the child,
Okay.
I'm gifted a lot, that's my gift,
Okay.
and that's my one-time use.
Just wanted to make sure that's how I was reading it. Okay.
And one
Questions? Go ahead.
other clarifying question that came up in an email today, just for the record here. So if somebody's in process of building a house, they could potentially be eligible for this exemption.
That's correct. It's something we'll work on a case-by-case basis, but you probably would have to amend the building permit. But if a house is under construction and there's just a foundation right now, yeah, we'd look at that, if it's eligible.
Councilor Hamblin?
So question. So we got 2 new houses going up side by side. One is a gift lot, one is not a gift lot. The gift lot does not have to put in a water system, but the one that's purchased has to, right? So are we kind of creating a us versus them situation, same house, right next door to each other, but because someone was lucky enough to have a gift, they're a better risk, or they won't burn down, or, it just seems to me if we're going to open the door to remove this requirement, we should be doing it for everybody, not just for gift lots.
Can I speak to that? I generally agree with that, and I agree with it not just for 1 and 2 family units, but we talked about as well, there's state level requirements for buildings that are more than 2 units, because generally that's what we've talked about at prior ordinance committee meetings. It might be 4, we're working on getting more confirmation of that, but one of the things that came up in the last ordinance committee meeting was when the prior council approved this sprinkler requirement, at the same time, they sort of did I don't know if trade-off is the right word, but they took some other requirements out of the land use and development code, which really, if we were to remove if we were to just completely eliminate the sprinkler ordinance in totality now, there would be things that we would wish were in the land use and development code still that are no longer there. And that was one of the pieces of it that's taking a while for us to work through, and that's why it's taking multiple ordinance committee meetings. In the meantime, we've got a handful of people that are trying to get some houses built that could take advantage of this exemption, and it's not going to be an enormous number of houses that are going to kind of be in this in-between. So that was I think it's a fair point that you raised there, but this is sort of our most pragmatic approach in the near term.
So I guess I'm going to agree with you, Councilor Hamblin, that it's a little bite of the apple. I watched the ordinance committee meeting. This is as far as they got. I would, because I didn't vote for the sprinkler ordinance in the first place, I would be happy to strike the whole article in itself, just like you mentioned about the single-family homes. So I know that's a discussion, and it's been discussed, and to what level do you include subdivisions or just single-family homes? So that hopefully they come back with more information about that.
Right.
So hopefully that's what I'd like to see come next, so.
So if my math is right, I'm sorry. Over the last 6 years, we've averaged 41 new single homes in Gorham on a yearly basis. Okay, so I've seen emails on 2 gift lots, which we'd like to remove this ordinance from, and I agree with it. But if I were one of the other 39, I would probably be here or in front of Ephraim tomorrow and say, why? What's different? And I don't see the difference, to tell you the truth. I think you either go the whole way or we go part way, or maybe this is a good first step, and next month we can maybe broaden it a little bit, which I would support and certainly vote for tonight. I just think we're creating an inequity for people who don't have gift lots. And that's not fair, and I don't think that's appropriate for a town to do.
Thank you. Councilor Willis, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a very specific question to start. Do we have a true definition of gift lot, like that exists?
Okay.
Yes.
It would be mimicked from our growth ordinance where we've had this applied already. So there's a gift lot provision in the town's growth ordinance that you could do a one-time gift to a family.
And is that solely chopping off a smaller piece from a larger piece, or could you be gifting a full lot?
I don't know the answer. My gut reaction is it could be any lot, and I'm getting the nod. So
Any
it's
lot could be
a
transferred?
lot.
Okay. And then in terms of the dates, amended potentially today, effective March 5th. So anybody who was looking to take advantage of this, just for the public record, would need to wait until March 5th to file a permit or?
Thank you. The technical legal response or answer is yes, it's a 30-day enactment. We'll wait a week or two past, the appeal period and work with people. We do that with all the ordinances. If we know it's changing, we'll work with them on their schedule and try to accommodate them.
Okay. Final thought. I'm in lockstep with the 2 councilors who have spoken previously. I do appreciate the work the ordinance committee has done. I watched your last meeting. I think it was like 50 minutes that you spent on this topic. So I know you've gone deep on it, and I think we're making some progress as a council. I'd love to see the single-family home piece be removed in the future, and at the same time maybe talking about ADUs, because I think if we're talking about single-family homes, we should be talking about ADUs as well. So just throw that out there.
If I could, Madam Chair, also raise a question. It's a fair observation comparing one type of home having to use it and another not. I think the fact that we've proposed to only apply the change that we want to make to only 1 and 2 family homes is a similar inequity. We're saying that we don't want to make sprinklers, we don't want to have our more burdensome requirement for 1 and 2 family homes, but we're okay with the additional burdens that we're going to put on any additional home beyond that. I disagree with that. I think taking the point that was made, we should just remove it entirely because there are state requirements for buildings with more dwelling units. They fall under another commercial category. And again, I'm not an expert here, so this is the thing that we have to go back to the ordinance committee and talk about more. But I think that's one of my concerns. If we want to take it out for 1 and 2 family homes, why are we leaving it in for the others? We're making it more expensive to build. And by the way, the homes with multiple dwelling units in the same building generate more property tax revenue for the amount of land they take up and the amount of services they require. So we generally benefit as a town, particularly if we put that kind of development down in the village. more customers for local businesses, more workers for local businesses. So that's one of my concerns. If we only remove the requirement for 1 and 2 family homes, we're essentially making it easier to build the type of houses that are really not as much of a net positive gain for the town. And we're still creating, it's even more of an inequity to have those other types of homes being built. So that's just one of the other concerns that we got to think about moving forward. So it's tricky.
I have a question. When's the next ordinance committee meeting? I don't.
Thank you. I believe it's next Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second Monday
Okay.
of the month, so
Just
February 9th at 3:30 p.m.
Okay.
I would encourage the 39 other single-family homes that are built in a year. You can watch that meeting, you can come to the next council meeting, and all the other councilors that spoke, well, including Councilor Sims is on the ordinance committee. I feel very certain that next month you'll feel good about the next step of what it seems like we're probably bringing forward.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Hearing number 6 on item 2026-2-7. Public hearing to hear comments on a proposed moratorium ordinance on a mobile home park lot increase. Councilor Sabal, sponsor.
All right, public hearing number 6 is now open. If anyone would like to speak on this item, please come to the podium.
Hello, my name is Christine Dyke, and I encourage the council to pass proposed order 26-13 regarding the moratorium on large-scale mobile home park lot rental increases. Oh my goodness. The Affordable Housing Committee has just begun its work. We've had one meeting. And mobile homes are an important part of the affordable housing mix here in Gorham. And to lose that affordability before any study, recommendations, actions can take place would hobble the goal of the town to be a place that included workforce housing for all of the levels of workforce that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Proposed order 26-13, order that the town council adopt an ordinance establishing a moratorium on large-scale mobile home park lot rental increases as follows.
Waive the reading due to length.
All right, is there a second? Second by Councilor Sims. All right, all those in favor of waiving the reading? 7 yeas. All right, is there an actual motion on the item?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Councilor Sims. Whoever.
I'm happy to, but I defer to counselors all the time.
I appreciate the other councilors' patience as this has come to us, been tabled, and then slightly adjusted. My first time going through the steps of a moratorium, and there's, well, as you all know, a learning curve to every part of this job. The biggest difference with this moratorium is you might notice the focus, specifically focusing on large-scale mobile home parks. That is the biggest difference, as well as it, of course, not being an emergency moratorium and a traditional moratorium. My biggest concern here is just that I don't want anyone to see that we are considering this and then, jack up the rates while we're in the discussion. So I want to put the moratorium in place while we're having this discussion. I will also defer to the town manager for all of the nitty-gritty and legal stuff about it and all the steps. And then also, if any of you have any questions specifically for me, I'll answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you. What you have before you was legal nitty-gritty drafted by an attorney, not me. And essentially what this is a moratorium for mobile homes in parks over 100 units, essentially. It's a 6-month moratorium. The council could, if you found a legitimate need based on the facts before you and or needed more time to come to a conclusion on or find a solution to the issue at hand, you could extend it for another 6 months. but it would expire September 1st of this year unless renewed or repealed earlier by the council. The council has, should you adopt this, you have another item to act on, essentially the issue following this order. I'll be honest, it would be a very new process to the town to monitor and track this issue, but if the council adopts it, we're happy to try. And Tom Poirier is here as well to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, so my question every time we do something, whether it's an ordinance, is the enforcement of it, and you just kind of spoke to the fact that, I mean, I guess the moratorium, I don't know how we're checking to make sure that somebody would have to come and complain to us that their rent it got increased, or?
Correct. We are not going to be knocking on doors saying, hey, what is your rent, by any means. This will be a reactive, I've got this notice, or, they're looking to increase my rent by X, and theoretically, people would come to the town and try to have it resolved.
Okay, and so just because it's changed from all mobile home parks to large scale, is that's run by legal? We can do that? We're not just...
Yes, I mean, the whole thing was run by an attorney to draft. There's inherently the possibility of a challenge with any moratorium, and I think the attorney, this moratorium and many others could be challenged. The period to challenge a moratorium, takes time, and it would eat into the time of that moratorium. So it's, I think that process would be cumbersome, but essentially what this does is it's supposed to buy the town time to resolve the issue.
Okay, I just was concerned because we really only have one large-scale mobile home park in Gorham.
My understanding this would be applicable to one park. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Hamblin.
So has that park changed ownership in the last year? Is this what's kind of driving it, or are we concerned that there might be a change of ownership? Do we know?
I think it's under contract, I believe.
I think that's what brought the attention to this.
Okay.
So.
I think the last time we talked about this, there was mention about a state law, a state ordinance that was going into effect, I think in December, that was trying to address the same situation. Do we know, has that moved forward? Is that there?
Kelly, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it went through LD 1723, and it's CPI times, or plus 1%. So right now, CPI is 2.7, so it would be 3.7 increase over 1 year, or 3.5% over 10, oh God, I get this backwards every time, 10% over 3 years. Those are the rules that the state has enacted. So personally, anything we do here is redundant because it's at a state level.
I'm sorry, what?
It's redundant. It's at a state level, it's already been enacted.
Okay. So are we trying to do something above and beyond the state, or we're just kind of running side by
I
side?
don't feel that we need to because it's already here. So like landlords already know these laws, and they will get in trouble if they up it any more than they should.
Councilor Siegel?
What kind of trouble?
You can get sued.
I mean, my understanding of the law as it's written, and this is why I want to bring this to the local level, is there is nigh zero enforcement. If a landlord wants to raise it more than that, the residents are allowed to ask for mediation, but then there's nothing after that.
Well, it's mandatory. Oops, sorry. Mandatory mediation.
But
They have to have it.
they have to have mediation, but there is no requirement that the landlord can't just jack up the rent. Sure, they'll mediate, they'll say, hi, we'll talk, but then there's nothing actually in the bill. Much like many state bills, to actually get it across the finish line, they end up removing a lot of the things that make it strong. So in truth, it says these things, but the landlord can do whatever they want. Have a mediation meeting and then still do whatever they want. So.
Okay. So I read the newspaper. I'm one of the last few who read newspapers, and I look for the public notices in the back that nobody notices because nobody reads newspapers anymore. But I see a lot of towns around Maine doing the same sort of thing, trying to put rent controls, whatever you want to call it, on top of things, because they're really worried, as this lady up here said before, about this is affordable housing. And if we keep jacking up the prices, it won't be as affordable anymore. So I can support this because it's a 6-month thing, but I hope it goes away after 6 months and maybe the state adds a little clarity, because I hate to have another ordinance on top of another ordinance kind of thing. But if we need 6 months to get our arms around this, make sure the state does it, then I think it's a good thing. Let's protect people in these places.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Counselor Dearborn?
So I want to know what the cap is. So we're just putting what? Somebody's paying $20, $500? What is the cap for this?
I think that's in the second item. Would that be discussion in the second item, just, about the actual ordinance? I think we're just talking about, right now, the item is to just put a moratorium on it. I'm going to say it loosely. So, and then I think to give us, my understanding is to buy us time to look into mobile home ordinance. And
this is just a very slippery slope. You start with this, and you're going to get every renter in town saying, I hate my rent, it's too expensive, I don't want to pay it. And then we end up with the dumpster fire that Portland is going through right now with their rent control on everything. And it is, if you talk to any landlord in the city of Portland, and it is horrible. And they are now selling to these huge conglomerates because they don't have enough money to keep their rents up. I would hate to see this happen, but this is where this will go if we do anything with this. So,
Councilor Sims?
I definitely agree with the assertion that the city of Portland has given us a shining example of how not to do this. I think we can do it differently. And I think we can learn from what Portland has done. I think South Portland has done their own attempt at, and we're kind of talking about the next item here. South Portland took a very different approach to their rent control ordinance. They got the landlords involved early on, which the authors of the Portland ordinance apparently did not really do. So again, I think there's things we can learn from some of the other places in terms of putting an ordinance together. And I think it's a fair point that there is a slippery slope here, but I do think that there are ways to address it cautiously and making sure that all parties are engaged in the process, and particularly the smaller, small-time landlords, because that's if we lose them, that's when we really are starting to give ourselves put ourselves at risk of less housing affordability. Thank you.
Councilor Siegel?
Thank you. I hear talk of Portland, South Portland, but I do want to acknowledge that when we're talking about this specific large-scale mobile home park, there are much more specific ordinances from other towns that are not Portland that we can look at. We can see how well it's working in Old Orchard Beach. We can see all of the other towns that have enacted moratoriums, Waterville, Saco. There are many towns that are enacting this, and they're doing it, for good reason. So I think the precision of this is by design. And there's a reason a lot of other towns are going for it, and it won't end up like Portland's.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that we're talking about mobile home park.
Right.
Just mobile home park.
But only one, right?
Large scale.
Yes, and really just one in Gorham, but.
6 months.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
One question. I worry about the slippery slope effect, and that kind of comes into more the second issue that we're not on yet, the upcoming agenda item. But the one in front of us, when we talk about lack of teeth at the state level, what teeth exist in this moratorium that would penalize anybody who acts against the moratorium?
Thank you. So essentially on the moratorium, this ordinance would allow an individual to come in and say, my rent increases are in violation of this moratorium, town protect me.
And essentially what we would do at the town level is verify that and then take the entity to court. Or through a process, legal process, to ensure compliance with our moratorium.
Okay.
Councilor
So
Dearborn?
this makes us a landlord.
Thank you. I don't think it would make us a landlord, but the enactment of any ordinance, there's always a component for enforcement, and this moratorium has that as well. So if there was a violation of it, it was brought to our attention, the town would act in good faith to enforce the moratorium, which is essentially an ordinance. And again, try to do that in good faith in that process. If it needed to be, would be brought to the council if it would incur a substantial expense or something like that. My guess is, from our experience with enforcement and a lot of other issues, those take a while. So again, you're just getting into a more complicated legal process that may even go past the date of the moratorium. But the moratorium is, any moratorium is meant to be a pause button for the town to enact, or at least look at an ordinance to address the issue. So hopefully, if it's enacted, hopefully no one will violate it and we won't have to test that.
Any other questions, comments?
Oh,
Yep, go ahead.
with your permission, I'll support the moratorium this evening. I worry there's a lot of like maybes and might happen and could be's in here. So I'm hoping that in the course of the next 6 months, we get actual answers about some of the things that are happening in this specific park that is being talked about here, whether it says it in name or not. We know based on the numbers and what's happening that that's the park that we're talking about. So I'm really hoping that we have some solid answers before we make decisions about what we're enacting moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I do need to say, because you have an item after this, this moratorium is governing a size requirement, number of mobile units. The following item is not. And I just want to make that very clear for anybody watching that, that although the moratorium may be hitting a threshold, your other item is looking at everything. And the reason I mention that is just fairness and equity, but I know the ordinance committee will be diligent on how they approach that subject.
And just to that note, my intention, because this one is a new item, the other one is a tabled item, so it has to be exactly written. My intention was to amend the next item to also be in line with the moratorium of 100 plus lots. Just to clarify.
Any other comments? All right, all those in favor? 5 yeas, all those opposed to Dearborn Phillips.
Item 2025-11-7, action to consider a rent control ordinance for mobile home parks. Councilor Segal sponsored. Proposed order 2614, order that the town council authorize the ordinance committee to review the issue of rent stabilization and recommend an ordinance enacting the same to the full council.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? A second by Councilor Sims. All right,
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion.
okay.
I'd like to make a motion to amend it to say for mobile home parks of 100 plus lots. To review the issue of rent stabilization of mobile home parks with 100 plus lots, specifically there.
Plus units, lots, what word are we using? Doesn't matter? All right, does that make sense? Okay. Is there a second for that amendment? Second by Councilor Sims. All right. All right, so we'll vote on the amendment or discuss the amendment. I think it's pretty obvious. Yep.
I'm dense, I'm cold, I'm coughing.
Yeah.
I'm confused between the two. Okay, what we just voted on and what we have here.
So this is actually, so that was a moratorium of rent
Of rent increases.
on large-scale mobile home parks, or
Okay.
park. And this is having the ordinance committee review and recommend an actual ordinance to put in place regarding rent increases, rent stabilization on large-scale mobile home parks, not smaller ones.
Okay, okay. So if the first one, the 60-day or 6-month ordinance goes away,
Yeah, the moratorium will go away at the end of that time, and then we will have an ordinance in
left
place.
for this if it moves forward?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
That would be our permanent
Thank you.
thing, yep. Do you want to?
This is still the amendment, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think-
yeah.
I think it
So,
was-
all right, we're
There was
good, all right.
one,
We're going to vote on the amendment. All those in favor? All those opposed? One, Dearborn. All right, now the item is amended for large-scale, 100-plus. We can have a discussion? Any questions?
So, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to think outside the box here. We've got, what, 6 mobile homes in Gorham? I think we heard last month, something along those lines. And we want rent stabilization just for the big one, but not for the other ones. I mean, does that seem inequity to me as well? Why would we want to do it on one and not on everybody? Because we're worried about somebody coming in buying the big one, somebody with private equity or whatever, and having limiting conscience on what they're doing, what they drive. I'm just thinking equity-wise, why a lawyer wouldn't try to pick us apart here on why are you picking on these guys versus those guys.
Yeah, I know in our case, the smaller parks are owned, family-owned, or, privately owned.
Right.
They're not opened by, they're owned by a certain person or something like that, not a corporation. But Councilor Siegel, do you?
Well, and I think that's it. I think truly what you see with the smaller parks, that they're owned by people that either live in the park or live very close by, and frankly care. There's an actual face to a name and a phone number, and so that goes a lot more. And you can see that just there isn't a motive for endless profit. And so that's why I think 100 plus is a secure number that will set us up well in the future to just focus on those larger ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could also, sorry, Madam Chair. I think that, again, like for the business model of the larger scale investors, it would only be a larger park that would likely, be of interest to an out-of-state, investment group that would be the type of entity that would be more likely to raise rents without any sort of, care for the residents. Which has been happening all over this country.
Everywhere.
Right.
It has. I'll just say one more comment, I'm sorry. So I read a lot about business rent controls. Don't seem to work in a lot of places. Government gets into it with good intention, but in reality, it drives out development, it drives out builders, so you actually get to a point where there's less than there was before. So I'm not a big fan of that. I hate to see people in this mobile home parks be taking advantage of a big organization jacking up the prices, which we're seeing all over the state and all over the country. So a moratorium to kind of control that and think about it makes sense, but the rent control ordinance opens up a big can of worms. And they'll say, okay, well, it's in the mobile home parks, why isn't it in the apartment buildings and everywhere else they'll go on?
Right, so I guess that would be my concern is, and just to reiterate for people at home, that we are talking about large-scale mobile home parks, but that's my fear, is that then it turns into, Portland and things like that, and we do have a lot of rental units. I'd like to encourage people to build rental units, apartment buildings in Gorham, so I wouldn't want to have anything really that would deter them from doing that, but also I think that it's kind of, I know we're not talking about rent control for all rental properties, but I feel like that could be a direction that I hope this isn't where we're going eventually. And again, I guess there's a point of enforcement. I don't know how we, whenever we put in ordinances, we have a hard time enforcing it, so. Go ahead. You look like you have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel like I have to, I'm just going to stick my neck out a little bit on this one. So the council just passed a moratorium. You, as an elected body, need to pursue looking at something. The details of how you look at that's totally up to the council, but we have to act on it. If the moratorium exists and is enacted in 30 days, you need to, in good faith, look at some type of measure to address that moratorium. So that's me advocating for taking action of some sort, but it's up to the council on the details of that action. Thank you.
Councilor Kush?
Yes, a couple of things. One of them is that this is just having a committee, not just, because it's work, but there's a committee willing to look at this issue. We've just heard from the Affordable Housing Committee, and so we have that 6 months. We need to do something. It seems to me like we have a lot of interest, and whether it's a workshop or something else, I support sending this to the committee so we can learn more about it.
Councilor Willis?
I am also firmly against rent control in general. I would tee up Councilor Siegel potentially here to speak about the difference between a mobile home park and renting an apartment or a house.
Thank you, Councilor Willis. You can tell Councilor Willis and I have had this conversation before. I was thinking of exactly my response in our conversation. The largest difference that people might not realize is when you are renting in a mobile home park, you, most of the time, you own the trailer, but you do not own the land. And it is an expensive, difficult process to move a trailer. And thus a lot of people are, basically stuck at that point. And then they are really just, you can just keep raising the rents because what are they going to do? If they can't afford to move their house, then they just have to keep paying it. And it is, I'll put an asterisk at the end of the sentence. It's the only type of housing that depreciates over time, with an asterisk that Councilor Willis has pointed out to me that some mobile home lots have, the specific trailers have actually appreciated, but I think that's just due to how rough the housing stock is available right now. It is much more common because the trailer, the thing that entropies over time, gets worse, so it'll depreciate, and the thing that typically appreciates, the land, because they're not making more land, you don't even own. So that's where I say that, I know everyone here it seems like most of the council is worried about a slippery slope. I will say this is one item. It is even smaller than the initial item I brought forward. I am not looking to make this an opening to do rent control. I'm just want to focus on a specific group of people who are the most open to being financially hurt. And the last thing I do want to say, for our town as well, mobile home lots seem to be the #1 provider of bad debt for us, of taxes unpaid. That's from what I've seen. For all the bad debt we have to write off, a lot of it comes from mobile home lots. And so if we can make sure that it's more affordable, that also might mean that more people are able to consistently pay the property taxes.
So they're paying property taxes on the trailer, not on the land?
No, it's not property tax, it's personal tax.
Personal property.
Personal property. Yep.
Personal, yeah, so it's like a car.
Not real estate tax.
It's not real estate
Nope.
tax. The owner of the park pays the real estate tax.
Second. They do pay real estate taxes. Yes. I'm hearing from the town clerk.
Yeah, it's, we just want to differentiate from the car, though. That's excise tax, but, we collect property tax for both the unit and the land. They may come from different places depending on how it's set up, but there's taxes paid, just like everybody else.
Madam Chair, could I just add one thing? I think that excellent discussion here. I think on our ordinance committee, we've got a diversity of viewpoints, which is very helpful and important. So we can, again, we can learn from the things that have not worked in other towns. We can take what has worked. I think, you know, dealing with the slippery slope, that's why we have a council. We have to make tough decisions and take a hard look at things. And I think we're all onto the same thing. I mean, a rent control ordinance is not going to solve affordable housing in Gorham. Ultimately, we have to allow more and different types of housing to get built. We have to stop adding additional costs like sprinkler systems. And those are all things that we're all talking about in this ordinance committee, and we're going to keep tackling them. You know, and it's obviously gets complicated and takes a while, but I think it's all good input that we're getting here to keep talking it through at ordinance committee.
So this motion, once again, if I'm out of order, I'm sorry, is just to move it back to the ordinance committee to take a look at it.
Yes.
Right, so we're not making any other commitments.
Nope, it's
It'll
got to
be
come back. It's
before
got to
the
come back.
town
Yep.
council before anything goes.
Yep.
But it would be maybe a worthwhile exercise to take a look at. You know, a month ago, the Portland Press Herald had an article on the paper front page saying trailer parks, mobile homes, manufactured housing is the last unsupported, unsubsidized, affordable housing in Maine. So I think we need that, and we need to continue looking at it to make sure it stays that way.
Councillor Dearborn?
I just need to let everybody know the cost of running a trailer park, a mobile home park, whatever you want to call it. So I did the math. The payment for that trailer park would be $178,000 a month without taxes, insurance, any kind of infrastructure. A lot of stuff needs to be done. The roads need to be redone in the trailer park. The leach field needs to be replaced, which is going to be $1 million plus. And when you buy something and you can't, because they won't let you up the rent, and do I think they should up it by $200, $400, $300? No. I mean, they need to incrementally increase it. And, you know, then the people are going to be complaining, oh, my roads, the dumpsters aren't getting dumped, the pool is empty, you know, my toilet's clogged because the leach field has failed, I can't get water because the pumps are all frozen. These are the things that need to be paid for. And if you don't up the rent, the things don't get done. And I've seen it thousands of times. It's happening in Portland right now, horribly. So there has to be a medium ground here that we have to come to. There has to be something in a medium ground that, you know, the owners can make money to support the park, and the people that live in there can live there and not worry about, you know, being charged $2,000 a month to live there.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor? All those opposed? Dearborn Phillips.
Item 2026-2-8, action to accept a resignation from the Gorham Economic Development Corporation, administered responsive. Proposed order 2615, order that the town council accept the resignation of Sarah Jackson from the Gorham Economic Development Corporation, and be it further ordered that the council thanks Sarah for her many years of service on the board.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councillor Kush. Since I go to the GDC meeting, Sarah was a great addition to that committee. She did a lot of work, I believe, with the GBA as well. So she's done a lot for the town, so we appreciate her service. Any other comments, questions? Go ahead.
I just want to echo that. I had a chance to serve with Sarah on a committee, and she just was a real asset to that committee, has been a real asset to the town, and I hope that she continues to serve us in the future.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026-2-9, action to appoint a person to the GEDC, appointment committee sponsored. Proposed order 2616, order that the town council appoint Corinne Sampson to the Gorham Economic Development Corporation with her term to expire in 2027.
So moved.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councillor Siegel. Anything you want to add,
I do, but I have to get used to the committee thing when it's counselor communications, but I would like to thank all the people that applied and were interviewed for this position, and those of you that have applied for other positions that we'll be looking at later this month. Thank you very much. It's a very difficult decision usually, and people step up, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Dearborn?
I think Corinne is going to be a great addition to the Economic Development Corp. She'll be the only female in the group, so I wish her luck.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
2-10, action to consider updating and clarifying the town's ordinances for quarry and gravel processing operations. Councillor Hamblin sponsored. Proposed Order 2617, order that the Town Council forwards to the Ordinance Committee for review and recommendation, updating and clarifying the town's quarry and gravel processing operations while incorporating best management standards. And be it further ordered that the Town Council asks the Ordinance Committee to involve quarry and gravel processing industry members and neighbors in their discussions.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councillor Siegel. All right, Councillor Hamlin, would you like to?
Thank you. Just in full disclosure, most of you know, and a lot of people in the audience know, the last 2 years, I've been on the other side of this table talking about the need to look for quarry ordinances and changes from what we have in the past. Now I'm on this side of the table and I get to sponsor, so I'm excited. If you look at the existing mineral exploitation and excavation and gravel pits ordinance in Gorham, it's very thin, it's very confusing. It seems to be more directed at sand pits than quarries, and really there's very little to control or ordinance or really review to see how it's impacting the neighbors. For whatever reason, in the last couple of years since I've got involved with this, it's amazing how many other towns in Maine are having impacts from quarries. I don't know if quarries are growing or maybe residents are just concerned with the impacts that they're feeling from the quarries. But you can go from Winthrop, who put something in place last January, Alna, which is voting on something March of this year, Sebago, Alfred, Wyndham, Winthrop, Mount Desert Island, Dresden, Franklin, South Thomaston, Union, all in the last 3 years. Clifton, there's just a lot of activity going on across the state related to quarries and the impact on residents. So this proposal is to go to the Ordinance Committee, ask them look at what we have existing for the mineral extraction ordinances, compare it to what's going on around the state, and update it to something that's probably more realistic than when the original ordinances were written. We think in the 70s and 80s, maybe the 60s, nobody's really sure when the ordinance on the books today are in place. So I'm asking the council today to send this to the Ordinance Committee to take a look at it, work with the existing quarry owners all around the town, work with the neighbors, identify what problems are, and if there's anything we can do to move forward to protect not only the neighbors, but also protect the quarry owners. As Gorham grows, it's impacting more and more people, more and more neighbors and residents. So we should get ahead of this today, because ultimately these things change hands. The two quarries have been owned by Gorham families for a long time, but it won't be owned by them forever. So looking at it now, before things change, I think we'll be ahead of the curve and maybe get a better result than if we wait till somebody bigger, uglier, and more difficult to deal with comes into place. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Go ahead, Councillor Siegel.
I have 2 serious comments and a joke one.
Okay.
First of all, I'm just generally in favor of supporting anything that hits like the 40-year mark or the we don't know the last time it was touched. Like we're doing the same thing. I mean, with the solid waste flow ordinance, just kind of it makes sense over time to just look at ordinances, so I'm fine with that. I also think, I think we have an actual like really good opportunity here to put something in place that other towns can look at for a reasonable quarry ordinance by, you know, working with the owners. I know, as Councillor Hamblin mentioned, a lot of towns have been putting in these ordinances. A lot of them are just being put in place to say, to make it kind of impossible for a quarry. But I think we have a real opportunity to make a real best practice for other towns to look at. Because I'm reminded of my call with DEP, you know, when I asked them, just looking at quarry ordinances, and I said, you know, can you tell me who in Maine is really doing it the best? And their response was like, actually right in your backyard, like Shaw Brothers is doing some of the best work. So I think it'll be good work. And then lastly, I'm voting for this because I want more meetings with Lee Pratt. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Councilor Dearborn, go ahead.
I kind of need a guidance as to where we're going to go with this. Is it going to be another open-ended ordinance that comes to committee and it sits there for 2 years and we go back and forth? And what exactly are we looking for? Because the MSHA laws are very clear. There is no, if you're not into compliance with the state of Maine, you are fined. Period, end of discussion. There is no, and I went through the ordinances in the town of Gorham and they're pretty clear as to what mining and extraction and all that stuff that goes with that. So I, being on the ordinance committee, need to have clear boundaries as to what you want us to do.
And that's a reasonable explanation. I'm usually the one who says that things need to be more detailed. I think that there's probably, I know Councilor Hamblin and I, we've talked about this, and you've provided us with information of things you want the ordinance committee to look at. And I think we might all have different ideas of what we want to look at. We might have different pieces that we want to look at and agree on. I think that before the ordinance committee were to discuss this, I would recommend that somewhere in here we have some work done by staff, if this is going to ordinance, to avoid that going to the ordinance committee meeting and talking about all the different things. I think if staff were to, like you said, do a comparison of what other towns have been doing because they're doing the work, and kind of point out, because we can all read through these ordinances, spend days reviewing this. I looked up a couple different ordinances, but if we want to look at surrounding towns, what they're doing, and if these are all changing, it might be easier, and I don't know if I'm making work for people, but if staff were to put together a comparison for us to easily weed through the differences, the changes, would be my recommendation. Not that they're making a recommendation, but just to show us the changes and things that are in there that other towns are doing. And I don't know if that's, I'm not looking at Tom because he's going to be mad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I always look for the curveballs coming my way. I think a reasonable, if the council is sending this to ordinance, there would be a lot of work and a lot of parties involved. A lot of time commitment with, you just passed a moratorium and we have to act on that within 6 months. If it goes to ordinance, I would likely work with staff to have a consultant do a lot of that work, and or the town hires somebody to do a lot of that legwork ahead of time before that conversation starts. But I think to your point, don't want to drop everybody in the room and not have a clear direction on where you want to go. Now, we could have that report come back to the council first if you wanted to get that direction, or we could leave it at the ordinance committee, but that's 100% up to the council.
I just think that would be a little bit easier for me to say, okay, and even for the ordinance committee, I don't know if it would be easier if you had something in front of you to say, okay, these are the things we're going to look at, or just talking points to talk through. So I don't know if that's, something that the council would want to do, but Councilor Dearborn, go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking maybe get MSHA involved and have them come to our level and just say, this is what they do, this is what we require, this is at a state level, they're doing X, Y, Z, and of course, there's a list of people that are, not doing what they're supposed to do. On the state level, every pit and quarry in the state of Maine has to be in compliance. There is no, you can't get around it. You can't make it go away. They come, they inspect noise, dust, and mine safety. This is what they do. This is, they've been doing it for years. The bane of most construction companies' existence is MSHA, that and the DEP. Maybe we need to get them involved and see what maybe we can work out with them.
Councilor Hamblin?
A couple of points. Get everybody involved we can. I think we want to come up with the best ordinance possible. But I'll tell you, about a month ago, I got a letter from the state of Maine saying we want to come test your well. And they didn't say why. They just showed up one day and said, well, why are you testing my well? Because of PFAS. Because you guys once had sewage spread on your fields. And I remember when that happened 40 years ago, I said, Dad, what the hell are you doing? Pardon my language. Having sewage spread. Everybody says it's fine. Everything is fine. Nobody has a problem. 40 years later, you can't eat the deer off the land with PFAS. You can't eat the turkeys. You can't eat the grouse. You can't eat the fish anywhere around PFAS contaminated land. So relying on the state to say something today and then change their mind 40 years from now, I think it's incumbent upon Gorham to change or look at this stuff on our own because, quite frankly, the ordinances at the state level are pretty thin. Secondly, I believe in the Gorham ordinance, it does allow for Gorham to hire a consultant, outside specialist, which would be paid for by the quarry owners. And if we want to look for somebody doing, Alfred just did that, the Alfred Planning Board pushed that out to to an independent consultant, and that report was just issued in the last week. So it's happening. Other places in the state of Maine, let's find somebody who knows what they're doing because we all have a lot of education that could be done. And let them take a look at what our ordinances are and see if there's any improvements that we should adopt.
Councilor Sims?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I do. I think Councilor Siegel's earlier point, I would like to view this as an opportunity to try to create a better standard, not just with a stick, but I think one of the things to look at is how can we incentivize the quarries that are already here to continue to make improvements to the way they impact the nearby residents, because I guess one of the differences between here and some other places don't have the quarries yet. We already have them, and they're here, and we have to figure out a way to live with them as effectively as possible while continuing to work towards the goal of making Gorham the best place to live in all of Maine. And so I think one of the things I'd like to see us look at, I think I'm supportive of sending it to the ordinance committee to look at it. And I would like to see us try to figure out ways, working with the operators, how can we actually try to incentivize them to continue minimizing the impact? Because as of now, there's really not much incentive for folks to do more than the minimum requirement, and yet some of the folks here in Gorham do operate above and beyond the current requirements, which is great, relatively speaking. So how can we continue to try to incentivize that, just the best standard of operation possible? That's kind of how I'd like to try to approach it.
Councilor Kush?
Yeah, I guess I have a question, and sorry because I'm not really sure where I need to direct it. I'm all for looking at ordinances, even if the ordinance committee comes back and says, we've looked at it and it's fine the way it is, we recommend keeping it. Is this whole issue, because it's been so much bigger and we've had so much public input about it, is this more appropriate for a workshop with a facilitator to start with to get direction? Or is this something that we send to the ordinance committee not really having a direction?
That's a good question. That's why I think that I was trying to get some sort of, I think, to a report or some sort of basis that we were all talking about, and that maybe, we're all welcome to go to the ordinance committee meeting, I guess, if we want to talk about it. But ultimately, whatever recommendations come back, we'd be discussing back here anyways as a group. But that's also a good idea to see what the interest is in talking about it as a group. And if we want to get, there's just so much information out there. I think we need to all have the same information. I think, to the town manager's point, I think that might be something that we have first as a jumping off point. And I just hate to get everybody in the room just to generally talk about it. Is it reviewing what we have, comparing it, and then when do we get people in the room with us? You know what I mean? So I think this is kind of, I don't know where we should go with it, but I do appreciate your comments about what are we actually trying to do. I think we're just trying to, like it says, update, clarify. I agree that some things could be a little bit clearer in there, and maybe what comes out of it is recommended changes or maybe no recommended changes, to your point. So I don't know if anybody wanted to, or I would offer up an amendment to, and I don't know how we do this, but to add something in where we have staff, like if we're having you get a consultant or do something like that, I know we have to give you permission, so let me know if we need to add that into this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have an aversion to spending money, and I think you all know that.
You want to think about that while we keep talking?
If you're going to keep talking, I can think about it.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Councilor Dearborn, did you have your
No,
hand up?
it's in the ordinance committee, I need guidance. I need somebody to tell me what it is they want as far as going forward with this. Best practices, that my best practice is different than your best practice, that is different than their best practice. So, this could go around in circles for years because we're not going to agree. So if you can give me one thing that we need to talk about in ordinance, I'd be all for it. But as this stands right now, I need more.
I think I provided that matrix comparing Gorham to 2 other towns. So that might be a place to start, especially if we hire a consultant. They could identify the various towns around with various ordinances, do a comparison, see where the location is, and maybe start looking at it that way, so we don't have to start creating the wheel from the beginning, and see what other people have done and why. I think there's a lot of work already done that we can share that'll kind of move us in that direction, and also relatively quickly tell us if we have a problem or not. Maybe we don't. Maybe we walk away.
All right, so I see you scribbling over there. What do you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have an idea. I'm not sure how the council, so at the end of the order, you could add, and be it further ordered that the findings of the ordinance committee be brought back to the council for a workshop discussion. Maybe that is you don't need to authorize the use of a consultant, but we could, you've talked about fact-finding, have that fact-finding at the ordinance committee, bring it back to the council for a workshop, and then the council can take action on the components that you give further guidance to the ordinance committee. It sounds like you want to have a conversation as a group, but you'll need more information.
Exactly.
I think more education as
More
well,
education
right?
and information.
We all need
Yeah.
to up our game
Yeah.
on that. And do we want to do it personally, or do we want a consultant to do it, or do we want staff to do it? I think is the question.
My recommendation is anytime you're dealing with a specific, very industry-specific topic that is not necessarily the daily purview of the staff, it's good to bring in outside experts. And I think that we deal and work with a lot of consultants that work with other municipalities that you've mentioned that could gather a lot of information for the ordinance committee and then thus bring that back to the council as well.
Yeah, as far as what we're specifically looking at, we've had a number of people come up to the council meetings over the last couple of years, the specific things they're mentioning, the levels of dust in the air, the height of the tiles, the ability to provide additional barriers, the number of blasts per year, and concerns around the water. So I think there are some specific things to look at. And again, I think that are there ways that we can work with the operators to incentivize? I mean, the goal here obviously is as much as possible mitigate the impact, the negative impact of the operations on the nearby residents. And I think that's a worthy goal to keep working towards. And obviously everybody's trying the best they can. I think this is just an effort for us to see what can we do to continue to move that forward and continue to improve the quality of life, and do that in a way that we're incentivizing the business operators to do that in a way that they're still able to, run a profitable enterprise.
So I guess I'll make a motion for the amendment. Or Councilor Kush, do you want to do it? Okay. All right, so I'll read it again.
Thank you. Ending at the end of the order, and be it further ordered that the findings of the ordinance committee be brought back to the town council for a workshop.
All right, is there a second? Second by Councilor Siegel. All right, we'll discuss the amendment of adding it to a workshop. Go ahead.
I guess just questions around timeline with all of this, because I still feel like we're sending this to the ordinance committee with no direction, to Councilor Dearborn's point. And I guess I would refer back to Councilor Hamlin on this. Like, is there a rush to move this to ordinance now? And if so, I think it may be good to clarify for those in the audience. We've received a number of emails today. The timeline once something goes to ordinance, especially when it's as wide open as this is, because it just does not move quickly. And the sprinkler ordinance that we talked about earlier tonight is a great example of that it's been at least a year and maybe longer that we've been, kicking that around without any real clarity on where to go forward. I feel like throughout this meeting and maybe the last couple, we've said the words ordinance committee a lot. And so when we look at your docket, it's a pretty thick docket. So I worry, for those that are interested in this, that, without some more targeted instruction, that it just goes and sits on the back burner and gets kicked around for quite some time without anything happening. So, I might echo what Councilor Phillips said, that, potentially trying to make this a little bit more targeted and give some direction to the ordinance committee, whether it be now or in the future, instead of just sending it to them to crack open the entire ordinance and looking at something without any real direction.
All right, so I'm reading into what the town manager said in the amendment about the findings. I think if that's clarified as the comparison of what is going on and their findings are what we discussed at a workshop, I think but the ordinance committee, I think, can have a meeting about it. They obviously have other things ahead of this, but I think that the ordinance committee can have a conversation, staff can have done some work, or the consultant can have done some work. Ordinance committee can say, look what we found, town council, here it is, and then we discuss at a workshop. So that's my impression of how this would go, but maybe not.
So we've talked about a consultant a number of times. Do you see that in that equation? Or would you expect the ordinance committee or this group to become
No,
to standards on
like the town manager said, where it's like an industry, a specific industry, that we don't, I think that's more accurate, that we would have a consultant do it. Is that correct? Just because of the...
Thank you. It's not just because of the industry too, it's the demand on the staff. So if you're dealing with multiple issues at the ordinance committee, you require a staffer to be going out and gathering this research they're not familiar with, working with other municipalities. The consultant is just to, like we've looked at form-based code in the past. The consultant works on that. That way it doesn't tie up the staff time. I know you have an amendment on the floor, not to confuse the issue further, but we could just hire a consultant, have them work on fact-finding, and then have a workshop too. And that way you're taking the work off the ordinance committee, and you set a date, we target 6 months or whatever the time is that we can
have that consultant come back and provide a workshop for the council. That's an option with industry players and things like that. That's an option as well.
Councillor Kush.
Yes, just to speak to my amendment, I guess what I was envisioning was the only thing that the ordinance committee would be doing at this point would be sort of coming up with the questions for the consultant, not to have any answers to start with, but I think that they have enough opinion within the committee with what Councillor Hamblin has given us. So my idea with the amendment was more about just sending it to them for questions, not to have staff have to work ahead of time. That they'd sort of lead the consultant.
Okay, so I feel like we're definitely
not
hiring a consultant. That's about as far as I've gotten, but, all right, so there's an amendment on the floor. I think it's going to include a discussion at the ordinance committee, possibly with the consultant or based on the consultant's information. I just want to be clear so that, for Councillor Dearborn.
Thank you. We can work out the logistics of the committee, but I think to Councillor Willis's point, the reasonable expectations, this is going to take a while. So just no illusions that this is going to be brought back to the council in 2 months. I can guarantee it will not be, because by the time you get somebody on board, the ordinance committee has a thorough review. There might be a meeting or two, comes back. So I just want to be very clear. This will take a while before it comes to some kind of conclusion that the council takes action on it.
So who would hire the consultant? Would that go through the ordinance committee, or would that be done by staff?
Town staff. The staff always, and it's availability too, of consultants we work with. The scope of it will have to be defined. So,
right,
because we obviously don't want to pay too much, and it's something that we have done. Zoning in the Little Falls Village, form-based codes. We've done it a fair amount in the past.
So then is that where this motion goes towards, to have staff hire a consultant to review the town ordinances compared to others in the state related to mineral extraction, quarries and sand pits?
I don't think you would need to amend the order. Essentially, we've just kind of taken direction from your conversation this evening. We would get to the ordinance committee, have a further conversation, and then find out how we could have the consultant work on that. But my guess is it would include that scope as well.
All right, so we have an amendment. Do you have comments on the amendment?
I guess I do. I'm not excited about hiring a consultant. I'm just going to say it. I'm not excited about spending more money on that right now. I would like to see this be more targeted and more directed, coming to us to then take to the ordinance committee or taking it to staff. I came here tonight prepared to support this item going forward, but if it's where it is right now, then I'd be voting against that amendment.
So to be clear, the ordinance suggests that the quarry operators would pay for this consultant, and that's what they've done in the town of Alfred as well.
Yeah, we're not.
I'm not
We're not
supporting that.
discussing. We're not.
Thank you, and I can clarify that. I don't believe that our ordinances, we've never required that in the past, and I don't think they would allow for that, to have certain parties pay for that. The town's always paid for the consultants here.
Because they'd be working for the town council, so.
That's correct as well.
Councillor Siegel?
I'm just going to speak in defense of my committee here. Yeah, we just need some direction. And I think there's, as we know, the town staff, there's not a lot of them. And so I think when we talk about hiring a consultant, it sounds like way bigger. I think it's just kind of like, we need someone with the expertise who's going to work on this a bit, who knows more than we do, to just kind of give us that direction. So that's all I see with this. I don't see it being a huge thing. So yeah, we just need direction.
Right, I need to give us one thing.
Would it? Oh no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just based on the conversation, perhaps it would make sense to table it for a month and try to figure out some more specific direction to give? Would that be a reasonable thing to do?
So even if we tabled it for a month, we'd still be talking about the same exact thing.
Right, but I think we would conceive, like, people are asking for more specific direction. We could take a little bit of time and more direction could be given.
We could do that. So there's an amendment to send this to a workshop. Do we want to vote on that first, or do you want to talk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think if you do table it, staff can work with a sponsor. We can dig a little deeper based on the conversation you've had tonight. And if you want the focus, we can work with a sponsor on it or I guess clean it up. I mean, I was on the fly here trying to add to it, but happy to tackle it either way.
Okay, so we need to vote on the amendment, but there's possibility of tabling the whole item, so we need to vote on the amendment first.
Okay.
To send it to a workshop afterwards.
Unless somebody withdraws their motion.
Yeah, or you can withdraw your motion if you want, or not. And even if we vote on the amendment, and the amendment goes through, then the item's amended, and we can still table that original item with the amendment. So, if that makes sense.
And just point of order,
Yeah.
the amendment on the floor
Mhm.
is, can we read that again, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. And adding at the end, and be it further ordered that the findings of the ordinance committee be brought back to the town council for a workshop.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm generally supportive of that. That gives the whole council an opportunity to understand what's been discussed, so that seems reasonable.
All right, all those in favor of the amendment? 6 yeas, all those opposed? 1 nay, Willis. So the item as amended is including the workshop piece, and now we can discuss the whole item again. Any other comments? Any recommendations for tabling or any?
Just a point of order question, I guess, for process. I know this is month 3, so this is the only reason I bring this up. If this was to get voted down tonight, we are not allowed to talk about this item again this year, correct? With this
Correct.
current council. So just the potential benefit of tabling it and thinking about it and, having some more discussions behind the scene would be, potentially not losing the item for the sitting council year. I think there's a lot, this is a big item. It's dominated my first year on council. We spent a ton of time talking about it. I know that it's a passionate item for a lot of people. We've heard from a ton of people about it. I'm not trying to push this off and say we're not going to discuss this issue. I think it's, definitely worth discussing and worth looking at the any ordinance that we haven't talked about for quite a while. I completely agree with that, but I just want to make sure that we're doing it the right way and not sending it off and having it sit there for a long time and get kicked around in a way that we don't have any organization to it. So that's my 2 cents.
I would agree that I think that we can also do our homework about things that we want reviewed. I think if we just, the rest of us obviously have, been thinking about this. And I guess if we were specifically asked, if we had any review or recommendations or updates or clarifications that we'd like to see, I guess we could all come to the next meeting if we were to table it and talk about it more specifically, and we could be ready to be more specific. I guess I would ask the council to do that.
So just a point, and I agree, we don't want to jump off the bridge and not knowing what's underneath. But, is everybody here going to go and start researching quarry rules in the next month, add a little definition of what we're going to look for? Is that what we're looking for? Or does it make sense just to maybe start looking around for a consultant to help us look at what we want to do to kind of focus a little bit more? I provided some information and stuff we looked, I thought that was pretty reasonable compared to what we've looked at We can certainly find a lot of other people who have looked at this stuff, and we can look at a lot of other towns that have looked at this stuff as well. But really, the issue comes down if other towns are making these changes and making ordinances to help protect the health and safety of the residents. The question is, do we want to do the same thing, or we're comfortable saying it's okay now, we don't need to make change? So I'm just trying to understand in a month's time, and I have no problem delaying for a month, and I can provide you a ton of information, or we can find a lot of people to help support and clarify and improve the understanding. Is that really what we're looking for? Or do we want to just push it to the ordinance committee or somebody to hire that consultant to help flesh out what we want to do?
Councilor Dearborn?
Again, we need guidance as to what you want us to do. You're not giving me anything. You're not giving me anything. Like, do you want less noise? Do you want no mining at all? Do you want they can only mine at 4 o'clock in the morning? I need something to, because this will just get kicked back and it will just stay in ordinance
So I'm a little
for 2 years.
confused because I did give a list of things that we wanted to look at and a matrix of comparing us to other towns. So I thought I'd already given direction.
No.
But if not, we can certainly look at it again.
So I never got this, so I don't know what this is. So,
I think it was in the packet.
It was in your packet, it was an attachment, but. So I think that's specific to Councilor Hamblin, so that list and obviously the comparison information. I was looking for more comparison, and I guess I could do my own homework and look around at surrounding towns and things like that. But I guess it's the comfort level of what we want to, do we need someone to tell us about this, or do we want to just talk about it in a month's time? Go ahead, Councilor Siegel.
I don't think this matters. I don't think ordinance is even going to look at this for 2 months with everything else on our docket. So like, if it passes now or passes in a month, it's still going to, staff will look at it and it'll eventually come to us. And in that time, we can figure out, more specifics. And so I don't think it matters because unless it's not going to pass at all, if it passes in a month versus now, there's no change really.
Are you having a thought? No?
I'm always thinking, Madam Chair.
Okay.
No, I'm good. It's essentially up to the council. I would wholeheartedly agree with the statement, though. I highly doubt that it will be acted upon in the next month or two.
I still like the recommendation of it coming back to us with more details, but I'm just having a hard time as to where we're getting that from. Whether we individually all come back with our own ideas, similar to what you did, of what you wanted looked at, or if we just send this to the ordinance committee. But I don't know what you discuss in 2 months.
I just wonder if the ordinance committee has the time to research quarry activity and other ordinances in other towns. I would guess they're busy people, and that may not happen. So do we just, and I don't know the protocol, but do we try to just jump to that consultant stage where we could hire somebody who has better background and ask them to do a comparison and look at the existing ordinances? And so then when that's prepared, and that's going to take time, that's not going to happen overnight, then we would have a document from somebody with some background on this, and then we can reflect off of that and decide what we want to do instead of trying to, recreate the wheel day one.
Would you recommend that we table this and the sponsor come back, not with a different item, but with more specific details about a consultant and asking us that? Or
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think regardless, if the council takes the item up and you act on it, we'll hire a consultant. I mean, it's nothing. It's a very complicated issue and a complex issue that I'm not necessarily comfortable throwing just at staff. That being said, if I do not believe that it will be acted on in the next month at the ordinance committee,
if there is more of a comfort level with the council to, if you feel confident that you're going to move it forward in a month with a little bit more information, take that time to do that, because I know the ordinance committee will not act on this in a month, nor will we necessarily have a consultant on board in a month. But I also spent my career in meetings, noticed that it's 8:45, and I know that meetings can drag on and topics can get complicated the more you talk about it. So I would just give yourself as much time to look at the issue as you can.
We used to have 11 o'clock meetings before you, so get used to it now. Councilor Willis.
I just keep chewing on it, and I mean, I think the thing I struggle with, even, again, going back to the consultant, is what are we asking the consultant for? I watched the meeting a year ago, and I think DP was there, and maybe Membership at the time. I can't remember exactly who was in the room, but so are we asking them what is the appropriate number of blasts per year? Are we asking them what is the appropriate height of the berms? Are we asking them what is the appropriate height of the piles? Or are we just asking them to talk about quarries? And that's where I sort of struggle with this, is like, who should be giving us direction? And looking at it in my notes from when we spoke, Councilor Hamlin, it was like, why Winthrop and MDI? Why are those the two communities that were being potentially compared to in your document, where there's this whole list of other towns that have in theory looked at this. So I would just love more information. I struggle sending it to ordinance with a blank slate right now. I don't know that I can do it. I'd love to see more direction given to ordinance and then tackled. And I like the idea of that communication between the quarry owners and the residents, and certainly somebody as passionate as you are. I just think we've got to focus this a little bit more before we do that. So that would be my suggestion.
So do you table this for a month and I come back and try to add clarity on this, what we want to look for? I thought I had already, but I can certainly dig down a little bit and provide some information. I've researched. I'm not a quarry expert by any means, but there are a group all through the state who are getting to know quarries quite actively, because there seem to be a lot of quarries going on. But I could come back with clarity around hiring a consultant and what we'd like them to look at, which is essentially comparing the Gorham ordinances versus other more up-to-date ordinances, and see what we get from that.
And that makes sense. Is that okay if we table it and then, or it's this existing item? Is that what you're going to tell me?
Whatever the council wants to do is perfectly fine, is my generic answer. But I think that's any option that you have laid out, I think, is a reasonable course of action. But if as a council as a whole, you need a little bit more time, I don't think you should throw out your whole process for 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, just me personally, I'd be willing to move it forward to the ordinance committee now with the understanding that we're just discussing it, but I would like us to be able to have as much consensus as possible. And if taking another month and providing more detail can do that, it's probably worth considering.
I'd like to make a motion to table it for a month.
Okay. Councilor Siegel, is there a second to table?
I'll second it.
By Councilor Sims. All right. All those in favor of tabling the item till next month? 5 yes, 6? Yeah. All right, all those opposed to tabling? Okay, Councilor Kush. I can do math.
Yes. Item 2026, 2-11, action to consider releasing $11,287 in tax increment financing funds to the Gorham Snowgoers, Councilor Phillips sponsored. Proposed Order 2618, ordered that the Town Council authorizes the release of $11,287 in tax increment financing funds to reimburse the Gorham Snowgrowers for construction costs associated with the new trail bridge off of Mighty Street. And be it further ordered that the Town Council extends its thanks for the efforts of the Gorham Snowgrowers volunteers for their work expanding the Gorham Public Trail Network.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, this was a request. The town manager and I met with the Snowmobile Club president, and he just made the request, the club made the request, provided you with lots of information about the Snowmobile Club finances, lots of details. I do have more details about the actual bridge, where it is, and things like that from them. If anybody has any questions, it is an ITS trail, which is an interstate trail system, and it's going to improve the trail system. It's going to be wider, bigger for other equipment to go over. And it's on the CMP pole line, so that's also, they got permission from CMP to do that bridge as well. So if anybody has any questions?
Just curious, do you know, like, is it a wood bridge? Is it, I mean, what are we
I think I
talking-
sent you guys pictures, but it actually was here in these details that they gave me. It has steel I-beams.
Substantial.
And then it has 8x8 hemlock beams, pressure treated running like boards, and then guardrails too along the side, so.
Fantastic, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026-2-12, action to consider releasing tax increment financing funds for phased construction of a sewer project on Main Street, Councillor Phillips sponsored. Proposed Order 2619, order that the Town Council authorizes the release of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $1,992,590 for a sewer main project on Main Street between Mosher Corner and Shamrock Drive. And be it further ordered that the Town Council authorizes municipal staff to award the project to Shaw Brothers Construction on a schedule more beneficial to the town.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Willis. I think we're all getting ready to take a nap. Okay. All right, do you want to give us a?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a little mini stroke there. This project has, we at the staff level did not know it would necessarily, we'd be asking to move it forward for construction at this time, but it's been on the books to be examined for a long time. As the councilors that have been here a while know, we've been looking at this. So basically between the area of Gateway Commons and Mosher's Corner, there's no sewer. I think the public would probably look at it and say, oh, there's a sewer line there. There is not. As part of predating the Industrial Park West project and then working into that project, the town had that section engineered and designed. There actually was an agreement with Corex that was permitted and approved for the cold storage facility on Main Street. In exchange for that lot, they were going to pay for this project, and that project didn't move forward. Fast forward, we needed to get better estimates to see what this project might cost. We put it out to bid late last year. Our initial estimates with the engineer just had it to come in around $3 million. We didn't anticipate that we'd be asking to allocate $3 million to the project or move it along. However, the bids came in remarkably competitive, almost $1 million under our estimates. And we have the ability with TIF funds to fund this project, which would complete this missing link of sewer and also provide sewer capacity for a high-density, mixed-use zoned area of Gorham Main Street. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. If you did move this forward, our anticipation, we would award the project and then work with the contractor to phase certain components of it and do the pump station last.
That was going to be my question, was the phases. I do have a question. We do have, I know it kind of seems like vacant space, but I think that we have a lot of projects, businesses, people purchasing land in that section currently right now, correct?
Correct. So you have the town's industrial park on one side. The development that is proposed is not contingent upon this project at all. I think we've been very clear with that. They have the ability to connect to the rear of the parcel. However, in my time with the town, we've had a fair amount of development, and that's the Mosher's Corner mixed-use district, right, Tom? I'm getting the nod. We've had some projects there. I know there's another building going in, and the other component with this, at the ordinance committee, has been parked an item for 2 or 3 years to look at sewer impact fees.
If you move this project forward, we would ask the ordinance committee, essentially the town attorney would work on it, to write an impact fee for this section of sewer. We may recoup all of it, but most likely we would recoup in the long term a substantial chunk of the investment that would be reimbursed back to the TIF district.
And so any existing business can tie in?
Any existing residential business could be tied in. They would pay an impact fee on it. Any future commercial or mixed-use development would be required to tie into it if they don't have sewer connections elsewhere.
Okay. Go ahead.
So from Shamrock Drive to Mosier Corner, right? So if I go through there in my brain, Amazon, trucking company, self-storage, Martin's Health Point. So really on that side of Main Street is pretty much built out, right? Is there a whole lot of room there?
So the other side, so our
north
industrial
side.
park side is zoned industrial currently. Any development could attach to it. Doesn't mean they could attach to either option, because there's a sewer trunk that runs down the rail trail, or not the rail trail, Crosstown Trail. The area for more growth and higher density development is on the northerly side of Main Street. So Mosier's Corner and a lot of those parcels around Angelo's could be developed down the road. Does not mean that they're going to be developed overnight and may never be developed. They likely will, but those would be the candidates for more connection to that system.
There also have been people that have looked at properties right along there that have not done their projects based on the fact that there isn't, there isn't that infrastructure.
And it's zoned for what? I'm sorry, again, mixed commercial
So
residential?
the northern parcel, I believe, not all of it, I think there's a line there somewhere, but is the Mosier's Corner Mixed Use Development District. The south of Main Street abuts a couple different zones, but primarily the industrial zone where the town's parcels are right now.
The south side.
Correct.
But the north side is relatively undeveloped
Relatively
at this point. I mean,
undeveloped
you
at
get
this point.
the power lines going through there. That's about it.
Counselor Sims?
Yeah, I know it's a little late into the night here, so I don't want to drag it out too long, but I do think that if we're going to do this, I think we need to reevaluate the current zoning on the southern side of Main Street. And I do just think if we're going to do the sewer project, it's kind of a shame that Amazon's going to put a gigantic freaking slab of pavement over the part that would make a ton of sense to put mixed-use housing now that we have sewer. So, it's unfortunate. That's a little bit of a missed opportunity, I would say. Yes, there will be some benefit if Amazon builds their thing, but not nearly as much if it was some sort of mixed-use, commercial and higher density housing. And it strikes me that would be the better side of the road to be on. Obviously, I'm lamenting what I would like to have other than what reality is. But there still are other parcels there on the southerly side. The Crosstown Trail is right there. That would be a great place to have some housing and other types of commercial activity that could be accessed along it. So I just think we're missing an opportunity if we don't take a look at the way everything's currently zoned around there and how we might be able to change the zoning to improve the chances that we get higher net positive tax property generating from any development that comes there. And if we're going to make the investment, we need to have the investment pay off in, ideally less than like 50 years. So I think that we really need to think about that. I think we really need to take a look at the zoning there and think about how we might be able to improve it.
Counselor Willis?
Go ahead. You got something to say?
No.
I lost it, sorry.
No, I'd just build off that by saying, in my opinion, it's the whole reason to do it, that, we're trying to set ourselves up to then be able to get some of the mixed-use things that we want in the future. If we don't do it, if we don't have the infrastructure in place, they're never coming. right? And that's part of the reason that, if we're going to talk about that piece on the southern side, why it sat for as long as it did, and maybe if, in the past, we had put the infrastructure in place, there may be a different use there at this time. So I'm all for it. I think it's a good project, and whether it's, 5 years or 50 years, it's something that we're expanding our infrastructure to plan for the future.
Thank you. Councilor Siegel.
Thank you very much. I know that we are also talking about sidewalk for that area. All right, is that included? I know that's within our pedestrian overlay district.
Thank you, yes. So the pending sidewalk projects, there's actually another project went out to bid, a PAX project. The low bidder was also Shaw Brothers. That's not coming back to the council. That's a PAX project, a 50-50 project with PAX and the DOT. That's from Mosier's Corner to get pedestrian crossings at the signal down to Cherry Hill Farm. The town does not have any pending projects in the remainder of that section. However, it's highly likely that pending development may be required at the planning board level in that overlay district to make some connections. So yes.
So how can we make sure that we don't rip it all up, put the sewer in place, close it all up, and then come back, rip it all up, put sidewalk in? How can we make sure that we're doing it?
Fair question. Thank you. If there's ever an alignment or ability for projects to align, we do it. However, I think a lot of this is going to be outside the area of the sidewalk. So you have a very wide right-of-way. The water district and the engineer have dictated where that line's going to go. So it doesn't necessarily, putting a sewer line in the ground is a lot different than putting a sidewalk along the edge of the pavement. It's inevitable that you're going to tear up some pavement and then replace it later, but I don't know if the projects align perfectly, is where I'm going with that.
Got it. I hope they align as much as they could.
All right, any other questions, comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, I still struggle spending $2 million. We don't really have a plan for a payback on it. We have a dream, but we don't. So I'm going to vote no against this. I mean, I'd like to see a payback period or a plan, how we're going to do that, how we're going to attract more people to pay for this thing and develop and move forward. But right now it's just like lay it down there and let's hope somebody buys it, just like the industrial park. Let's just buy it and then hope somebody comes along and buys it. It's just we're spending a lot of money without any certainties involved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wasn't necessarily going to address that because I can't guarantee I can't address that. With the impact fee, I cannot guarantee that the development will pay it back. What we can do is that if the development exists, residential or commercial, that they will be caught by that fee. But it may never pay it back. It may be 50 years. It may be 5 years. I don't know. I will say, though, we don't often bring a $2 million project to the council. This project went out to bid to give us better pricing. The bid pricing came back so low, we're like, we have to bring this to the council. The whole intent was just to get the pricing. And it was $1 million under our $3 million estimate. So that being said, it comes from TIF funds. TIF funds are set aside for specific uses. This is an eligible use. Does not mean the council has to do it. But the TIF account will replenish. There's currently the unrestricted balance of that is approximately $3.3 million. So there is funding for it. But it's entirely up to the council whether or not you want to move the project forward. It is a chicken and the egg kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Councilor Willis that I just think of all the places that don't have sewer and water around that we're trying to, I picture South Gorham and just nothing. So I think, we talked about at our goal setting workshop about investing in the infrastructure. But I understand Councilor Sims, your point about what it could be, what it might be. I do know that there's a couple of people that are planning on building are moving their business and things like that on that stretch. So hopefully that continues to happen. I would hope that it would. And we really, I don't know how to predict, like the town manager said, the impact fees, but I'm glad we're going to have those. We typically have done that in the past with I feel like we did something with Fort Hill. That predates me, but yeah.
Thank you. There was a Fort Hill water main project in 2007, 8, something like that maybe. That was a different one where the water district covered it. We pay them back, so we didn't hold the bond on it. That doesn't happen anymore. The district doesn't do that. I don't know how David pulled that off, but that was a good move on his part. So it's Gorham's model in the past has been having development provide the infrastructure, and typically we have not, as a municipality, it's going way, way back, made the investment ourselves.
All right.
So one more comment. So I know it's late. I mean, if we have that money, is there a better place we could spend it in the town? And I just worry that, Main Street's already busy. You add Amazon in there, and then you bring in other businesses and residential, whatever. Main Street's going to be a parking lot. Have we thought about what we can do to upgrade the roads before we go down the road and lay the sewer to attract more business and more houses?
Do you?
I'll talk all night if you give me a chance. Thank you. We have pretty extensively in the last couple of years started to lean on our TIF districts to help with the school funding formula, as well as keep the town's head above water for capital improvements, as well as fund projects that we normally would not fund. I've got a list here of items we did the last year, but TIFs fund the Metro service, public safety, salaries, village expenses. We've done the pedestrian crossings all through the village. Those were funded with matching funds with TIFs. I believe some of the pending sidewalk projects on South Street, the village lighting, all leveraged grant funds with TIF funds. So we have quite a bit, but there are limitations, legal limitations on where you can spend them.
That's what I wanted you to speak to, is the limitations. We can't just spend them on something else, but Councillor Sims?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I do. I think it's a fair question. And this, again, the bid is $2 million. How much will the project actually cost? I think our industrial park has gone a few $1 million over the budget. So, that can happen. Obviously, this is a smaller project, so hopefully it won't be that much. But I do think, though, again, this is just a tricky one. The question of where else could we spend the money, I know we're always talking about the school buildings needing more investment. We're talking about trying to invest more in our existing infrastructure. Could you talk a little bit more about the timeline for how much this is phased out? How much money would we actually be spending in the current budget year? And what's the plan for how far out you're spending this money?
Thank you. I'm going to look for some nods from Tom, and hopefully he can back me up on it. I think the plan would be to phase the majority of this, so everything but the pump station in this fiscal year, and have a conversation with the developer on if they can hold the pricing for the pump station longer, because we may or may not need to bring that online immediately. So the problem with sewer, water, you're just pumping it everywhere. Sewer, you pump it to its destination unless you can gravity it, and you can't, you have to pick it up from businesses in homes through gravity. So every time there's a dip and knoll and things like that, you have to work around that, and adds cost to it. But I think that was the plan, that ideally we'd get all the pipe in the ground and then phase in the pump station, which is an in-ground pump station, I think about $500,000.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do. I just have to say that if Amazon wasn't going to build what they're building, I think this project would make way more sense, and we would have a way better chance of getting a higher return on the investment. I think with the Amazon going in, that really limits our ability to recoup additional property tax revenue off of this investment. and it's just tough. And, and so presumably we're hoping that the higher density mixed use housing will go on the northern side. That's like right next to the quarry. We've got people that are complaining about the quarry impacts that live right there, where we would hope that the higher density housing would get built. So it's just a tough one. I mean, I want us to be able to make smart infrastructure investments where it makes sense. If we could turn back time and change the course of events of the couple of decisions that we've made with that area, I think we could be in a lot better position than we're in right now. Right now, it's just kind of it's not an ideal situation that we're in. And so it's kind of a tough decision. It's a lot of money to spend. It might be even more money. And I don't know. I mean, I would love for us to be able to have a more detailed cost-benefit analysis when we're looking at this, because we're being asked to say yes to at least $2 million of taxpayer money, and we're hoping that it's going to pay off. And again, I know that was the whole idea with the industrial park investment, and it has not panned out yet. Now, granted, part of the reason it hasn't panned out is because we don't have the infrastructure there. So just buying the land, it was, sort of a pipe dream, no pun intended, to think that the investment was just going to come from the business owners. But again, I think we really got a lot of stuff we got to look at. If we're going to make this investment, we really need to look at changing the zoning all around there to allow more higher value uses. And I think we got to be a little more strategic about what we're trying to get in there, the types of parcels, the types of development we want to see. I'll stop talking now.
I see you have a...
Thank you, Madam Chair. The last comment I'll make, and again, I think the council can appreciate on the town side, all sides, but the town, we really pride ourselves in trying to do something cheaply. A fire engine now is like $1.2 million. Sewer infrastructure is put in the ground for 100 years. If I could get this pricing for other projects, I would come back with a bond for the council and put sewer in half of Gorham. So I just want to emphasize the reason it landed on the council's plate is it's dramatically under six other companies on the price. I think we would, regardless of the, hopefully it's a quick payback, but the cost to put it in is cheap. And I wish I could get that everywhere in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Willis.
Can I make you speak a little more? I know you said you were all done, but just to one of Councilor Sims' points, speak to the difference between a bid and then the actual cost. Like when you talk about the park overrunning costs, I think there was a number of things that happened there. In this case, are we locked in on the pricing?
We are locked in with the pricing unless there are, like any major project, there are unanticipated expenses that the contractor incurs that we work with the contractor to mitigate. So at this time, you would not authorize the staff to spend any more money. The contractor would need to know that going into the project. If we had reasonable additions, say there was $50,000, we would come back to the council and say, hey, let's figure out how to do this. I will address the industrial park, though. I can't stomp this enough. The town went into that project not knowing what the end result was going to be. So we haven't overrun on a price tag because there was not one going into it. And there is, just for the public, economic development put a very good history that we did not have before. And I know I talked to Councilor Sims about that whole project, as well as the history, the purchasing, all that on the website. I encourage anybody to look at it because it has a lot of factual information. But we'd have a consultant as well as an engineer
babysit the project.
So I would just make a distinction, the land on the north side, and I may be screwing up north and south now because it is late, it's past my bedtime, but that's privately owned land, right? So whatever the ordinances call for, I don't disagree that it may be worth looking at, but I think that's all the more reason to have the infrastructure in place that, we've talked about so much about contract zones over again the course of the last couple of years that let's do the infrastructure, let's have it in place, let's drive the type of uses that we want to those areas whenever it is they come, rather than playing catch up after the fact.
Any other comments, questions? Councilor Siegel.
Thank you. Thank you. Through you to the town manager. So we have the item at the ordinance committee about impact fees.
Yes.
So let's say we vote on this, we approve this tonight. And we also, at the ordinance committee, get the impact fee going, comes back to the council, gets approved. All right. Then let's pretend there's a giant 150,000 square foot warehouse going in right there. If we have the sewer in first, they would have to attach to this? Or is that a planning board distinction?
I think that is a good question. I would be surprised if they sought out another connection, just given the logistical challenges involved, but I don't know if that could be guaranteed because they'd be required to connect to public sewer. And I think it could be encouraged. My guess is that they would connect to it. You would also... So to the point of the impact fee, there could be a substantial impact fee associated. We'll not pay for the whole project by any means, but any large, it's based on volume and usage. So any large addition to it or high density development, yeah, they would pay a substantial impact fee.
Okay.
Existing systems, if you had an existing sewer system or a septic system, it's only when it fails that you have to connect to it. So if there was a house or something like that, I believe you get to keep your old system until that fails.
Now, what about the alternative? We say no tonight, a building is put, it is attached into the back of the industrial park, and then a year later, we decide to do it. Do they pay the impact fee at all?
If they connect to the new system, which is unlikely.
They never, right, 'cause they're already
Or
connected.
any development, once you're tied into sewer, I think unless there's a financial motive to save money, take a pump station offline or something, I don't see that happening.
So if we do this tonight, we lock in a low price, and we also have a much higher chance, higher than zero, of getting a chunk of that out of the way.
Yes, but I also would not say that that's why the staff are bringing this to you, or nor should you hang your hat on that.
Right.
This project has been in the works we've been looking at it for 6-7 years at this point.
Yeah.
But there's also, I would be at fault if I didn't mention, so there's the golf course development. There is a requirement of the contract zone, they have to bring public sewer connection to that project. There may be opportunities for the town to put gravity into that system to pick up more areas of South Gorham. We have a study for that too. So this is going to be a conversation we're going to be having with the council more frequently because we're trying to leverage, if we can have private development and leverage that, we will absolutely do that. In this case, our first attempt at that at the council level failed. That project, Corex, did not move forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? One, Hamblin.
Item 26, 2-13, action to consider adopting town council goals for the 2026 year, admin sponsored. Proposed order 2620, order that the town council adopts goals as outlined from its January 2026 goal setting workshop for the 2026 year as follows. The following are top 6 interconnected goals, not in any particular order. Build on our strengths and quality of life to keep our cost of living down. Update the village master plan and implement other plans to help preserve and enhance the character of our town. Invest in cohesive infrastructure to support economic development, fiscal sustainability, and our plans to preserve and enhance rural character. Support, invest, and empower the staff to implement plans and priorities in operational operationally sustainable ways, improve communications with the public, among staff, and among the staff and council, and with USM, and continue collaborative planning with the schools and implement other recommendations of the Fiscal Sustainability Committee.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Hamblin. This, obviously, our workshop was available for anybody to look at, to watch, how we got to these items. There were a lot of things that I didn't think were going to be on there that came out from our conversation. So it was really a good collaborating session. I thought we did a good job hashing out some things. So any other questions or comments?
Just one quick one. I mean, they look good.
Yep.
I'm sorry I missed the meeting. I just couldn't get away. I would just kind of like to see dates and numbers in these things as we go forward. It's pretty hard to judge yourself at the end of the year when it's so open-ended. So maybe next year we start trying to nail it down a little bit more, so at the end of the year we can decide if we made it or not.
Yep.
Because here I think you could argue both ways if we make it or not at the end of the year.
Yeah, we had a discussion about short-term, long-term, and we didn't really put dates, but that's a good idea, so thank you. All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas.
Item 2026-2-14, action to consider authorizing the release of development transfer overlay funds for the purpose of preserving active farmland in the rural district. Councilor Phillips sponsored. Proposed order 26-21. Order that the town council authorizes the release of $20,000 from the development transfer overlay account to Maine Farmland Trust for the purpose of preserving Gordon Farm, 139 Westgate in North Gorham.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilor Kush. Although I am the sponsor, Ephraim just put my name on it, but obviously we have the information in front of us. We do this from time to time with Maine Farmland Trust, and it also aligns with one of our goals. So, and I believe there's someone here if we have any questions. But.
Happy to. I know it's late, and I don't know where the council wants to end up, but as you mentioned, Madam Chair, we have routinely done this with more Brezumscot Regional Land Trust in the past, but the Development Overlay District allows for developers to buy up density, and that goes into an account, and we have used that from time to time to help projects that preserve land in our rural district. So we're always grateful for when that can happen, and the council has traditionally been very supportive of that.
Any questions or comments? Do you have any questions of?
Just like to add, thank the gentleman for staying for 3 hours.
I feel bad.
I just want to say yes to this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will make an effort to get, depending on how the council acts on this, I think I know where you're headed, but we'll try to get information on this project out there just so the public can see how this works and get it the proper attention it deserves. It's not the last item on the agenda. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very nice packet of information. Answered all my questions, so I wish I had known you were back there, but any questions? No comments? All right, all those in favor? 7 yeas. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Councilor Hamblin. All those in favor? 7 yeas.